sit back and relax. It's time for your daily dose of Big D Energy.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Big D Energy live on the Woodward Sports Network. I am Flannel Sam, filling in for Neil Rule. I'm in Neil Rule's spot, so I feel more presidential. I don't know if that's a coincidence or not. And for me, going from presidential means not very presidential to a greater version of also not presidential, but still, it's progress. But to my left is the man, the myth, the legend, former Detroit Piston, and also champion with the Los Angeles Lakers. Lindsey Hunter, and man, am I glad to have you here today because there's going to be some Pistons topics that people are going to want to hear from you more so than anybody else, because you know what? Who doesn't want to hear about basketball from the man who's forgotten more about the sport than I will ever remember and anybody in this room will ever remember? In the TD booth, we've got Spencer Raxter, as usual, here, as he always is, going to break down some topics with me, too, about the draft, the NFL. We're going to get into all that as well. And in the sound booth, we've got KG, somebody that I've been working with a lot lately. You know what, KG? I'm going to give you something that you should take as a compliment.
Okay.
I see a lot of my old self in you, the way that I started here. So that's a good compliment for me.
All right, cool.
At least if you perceive it that way. But first, there is some thing that I want to talk about first, and I think it's going to get the chat going a little bit. Kevin Stefanski was just named NFL Coach of the Year. It came out last night, and look at that voting. Kevin Stefanski and D'Amico Ryans each got the exact same number of total votes, and the tiebreaker was the first place votes, in which Kevin Stefanski won by 1. You can't get any closer than that. But the way that this is working is that there's Kevin Stefanski and there's D'Amico Ryans right there. Spacebar, 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 Dan Campbell. And there's certainly some question about, A, did Dan Campbell get snubbed? B, was it disrespectful to him to be so far down in the Coach of the Year rankings? And C, just all of the above. Lindsey, did the voters get it right, or was Dan Campbell snubbed?
I think Dan was definitely snubbed.
Okay.
Like, I think from the turnaround that Detroit had, I don't understand why he wasn't the number one guy.
Okay.
Like, those other guys did great jobs. Don't get me wrong. And I guess, I don't know, man. I don't know what came into play about how the process went. Like, what were they taking into consideration?
I'm surprised that you didn't pound the table for Kyle Shanahan. But then again, he's one of those that could win it every single year. It's just he's kind of hurt by the expectations that the 49ers have. Exactly. They're always going to be a playoff team. But Spencer Raxter, I will go to you before I give my answer. Did the voters get it right, or was Dan Campbell snubbed? Did he get too few votes? Talk to me, man.
I do think the voters got it right. I do think the voters got it right with how it is. Maybe you give him a couple more first-place votes. It is kind of disrespectful that he only got 3. I will say that. But the order of which it went down, I think they got it right. Stefanski and Ryans, I could see being the 1 and 2 option for Coach of the Year.
And this is something where I can get behind to some extent. Chuck Brewer, the lack of even third-place votes is my issue. And it's certainly disrespectful to not put him in the top 3, because to me, Kevin Stefanski, D'Amico Ryans, Dan Campbell, if any of them would have won it, I would have said, yeah, they deserved it. And I just want to give you a reminder of what Kevin Stefanski actually did this season. The Cleveland Browns were 11-6 this year, despite early on in the year Nick Chubb being out for the season with that devastating knee injury. And he's been one of the best running backs in the NFL for many, many years, and was slated to be again this year. He was always Mr. Consistency. But it wasn't just that. It was the fact that their starting quarterback, Deshaun Watson, only started and finished 5 games. So that means that the Cleveland Browns played 3 games with Dorian Thompson-Robinson, 5th-round rookie, as their starting quarterback, and it went about how you think it would, at least in terms of quarterback play. They also had played 3 games with P.J. Walker starting at quarterback, and at least as far as quarterback play goes, it went about exactly as you thought it would. And then out of all people, this guy ended up actually saving the season, but nobody would have thought that before the season.
The Flack.
Joe Flacco.
Comeback player of the year?
No.
I mean, I don't know. Well, that's another discussion for another day. Joe Flacco, a guy that we all thought it was just going to be the corpse of Joe Flacco. He before the final 5 games, I feel like earned that moniker, but he actually played well. He was a little turnover prone, but he did kind of spark some life into that offense. But the reality is that before the season, what was one of the discussions about the Detroit Lions when it comes to the backup quarterback and whatnot? If Jared Goff goes down, your season's over, you're screwed. But the Cleveland Browns, it didn't quite work that way because despite having Joe Flacco starting 5 games, the combination of P.J. Walker and Dorian Thompson-Robinson starting 6 games, combining for 11, the Cleveland Browns were able to end the season with an 11-6 record, a wild card appearance, and they were the 10th ranked scoring offense in the NFL, and Kevin Stefanski is an offensive coach. So for that reason, I think Kevin Stefanski more than deserved it, although Dan Campbell, if he would have won it, I wouldn't have been mad either.
Yeah, I mean, Stefanski did a great job working with what he had, but that defense was really responsible for that team being as good as they were. They had the number 1 defense for the majority of the season, right? Did they end number 1 the regular season?
When it came to yards, yes.
Yes, they were amazing. That defense was amazing. But you still got to give him credit for it. I still like Dan Campbell as my coach of the year because of the history of the Lions and all the things that he had to overcome and the job that he did. I still think he deserves coach of the year. And I just believe that. Just watching how his guys got behind him, and we can go into the semantics of it and say, oh, well, they lost 2 quarterbacks and they lost Chubb, and that's all part of the season. Everybody loses somebody during the season, and he did a great job of overcoming that. But yet and still, Dan Campbell had a better record. Got
by 1.
Huh?
By 1.
Well, better is better.
All right, fine. Fine. All right. Go ahead.
1 or 2 is better. and Dan Campbell got further in the playoffs than he did. So
well,
I think, and I don't know if this is like the NBA regular season MVP. Is this a regular season award? Well, then Dan Campbell still wins because he won more games to me. And I'm just saying, I think Dan did an outstanding job, and I think him being 3rd was disrespectful.
Dan Campbell certainly did an outstanding job. I would never try to take away from that. I think that the fact that he didn't get more votes I think that the voting should have been very close between the 3. It only ended up being very close between Kevin Stefanski and DeMeco Ryans. And KG, I will go to you as well. How do you feel about Dan Campbell being 3rd? Did Kevin Stefanski deserve it? What's your take?
Yeah, just the numbers are disrespectful. And we talked about it on the morning show. They are judging by the regular season, and the last image that they have of the Lions in the regular season is them losing that Dallas game. I do think they put a lot of importance on that game because that was the best team that they faced the whole year. And Dan Campbell kind of dropped the ball in terms of like the 4th down decision making. So I do think they got it right, but the 3rd place votes are just absolutely disrespectful if you ask me.
And that's all well and good because he certainly deserved it. The only pushback I would give to Dan Campbell winning Coach of the Year, and this isn't a knock on him, is that, and Spenny, I'd like to get your take on this because I think we might be somewhat in lockstep. The Lions, as great as their season were, and it was amazing, and if you wanted to give the Coach of the Year to regular season and playoffs, I would definitely give it to Dan Campbell. And if that were the case, there'd be some argument for Andy Reid and Kyle Shanahan as well, but that's neither here nor there.
Right.
I think what may have hurt Dan Campbell were, as much as the Lions had a great year, as much as they improved upon the previous year, they were expected to win the NFC North, and they did. Do you think that had a role in it, Spenny?
I definitely do. You look at it, we all thought that the Lions were going to win the NFC North. We all thought the Lions were going to win 11, 12 games. I think the Browns not only dealt with more controvey, and the Houston Texans, nobody picked them to win their division.
Yeah, they came out of nowhere.
Except for me. I'm just saying.
Talk your shit. Seriously.
I said words first. I'm just saying. So I think that's what it is. Those 2 teams kind of beat the odds, while the Lions, fantastic season. Dan Campbell, great job. He did what we expected him to do. This team did what we expected them to do. My expectations before the season was a division championship and a playoff win. I know playoffs don't factor into this, but still, they had a great season for sure, but the Browns overcame more adversity and the Texans overcame their expectations.
Yeah, we didn't even mention the Houston Texans and DeMeco Ryans, who I would have waxed poetic about just as well. And you know what? Hell, I'll just do it right now. The Houston Texans, the previous season, were the number 1 pick in the draft, and then the next season they win the division. And part of the reason, and I'm going to give credit to DeMeco Ryans for this because he is a defensive coach, was that defense was pretty damn good, and it had a lot of people step up. Will Anderson, Defensive Rookie of the Year. You've got Jonathan Grenard. You've got Derek Stingley, the cornerback, take a huge leap from his rookie year after there were some concerns about him. Now he's looking like he might end up being in Sauce Gardner's league at some point. I'm not saying he will. I'm just saying Derek Stingley Jr. can play.
Right.
And then on the offensive side of the ball, if you're going to be a defensive coach, and you draft a quarterback like C.J. Stroud, you need to hire the right offensive coordinator and the right offensive staff, i.e. a case like what used to be Sean McDermott and Brian Daboll in Buffalo, and then, of course, the most famous Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels all those years in New England. And that's what it appears, at least, that DeMeco Ryans was able to do, because C.J. Stroud had the greatest rookie season any quarterback has ever had. And all of that combined into the Houston Texans going worst to first, I mean, that's phenomenal. Yeah. You cannot, and I'm not saying anybody's trying to knock that. I'm just saying that, like, when you talk about turnarounds, a lot of times that is what the nature of Coach of the Year is. What did you inherit and what did you build?
No, absolutely. And he deserves all the credit. We really missed him in San Francisco this year as our defensive coordinator.
Hey, shout out.
Yeah.
but he did an outstanding job. And to talk about C.J. Stroud, the things that he accomplished this year, and I'm not – and when we talk about New England, man, I tend not to give them as much credit offensively as they always get. Because, I mean, Tom Brady, he made that machine work.
He did, yeah.
And so I take a little bit of that away from them, because when name one of those assistant coaches that went out on their own and were successful.
You can't.
Bill O'Brien for a little bit.
Yeah.
But that's about it. hey, he had some Texans teams in the playoffs for the record, but no, Josh McDaniels can't coach. Romeo Crennel.
Well, we heard what happened with Josh McDaniels. They were doing phenomenal out there in Denver until they figured out they were cheating. But they were doing phenomenal until they figured out they were cheating.
Hey, but sometimes you're just better as a coordinator, because all of those coordinators, they worked under Bill Belichick and that whole system. I'm just saying that.
Who worked under them this year? Who was his coordinator this year?
Who the hell knows? Nobody even knows, because they suck.
That's my point.
They were terrible.
That's my point.
I mean, breaking news: Tom Brady's better than Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi. Breaking news.
There you go. But you know what? That works hand in hand. Sometimes, great quarterbacks make coordinators look better than they really are. That's just the reality of it.
That's true.
Sure.
Yes, and Paul Thomas in the chat. Dan Campbell got an entire team to believe in themselves and went to the Final Four and should have made Super Bowl. Nobody else did that. And you know what? As a coach of this team, Dan Campbell, I love you, man. And this is all very, very relevant in terms of the team. Unfortunately, and I'm not saying this is right, it just is what it is. It's not relevant to Coach of the Year because it is a regular season award. I mean, I know that's a conversation as old as time. You see it in the NBA, for example, with remember when Dirk Nowitzki won the NBA MVP and then his team got beat by the 8th seed in the first round, Golden State.
Got mopped.
They got mopped, and then Dirk Nowitzki looked pretty damn miserable accepting his MVP award. I mean, Lamar Jackson is another one. If it would have been a regular and postseason award, you'd have to give it to Christian McCaffrey, honestly. Yeah. But Lamar Jackson, he kind of did what Lamar Jackson always does in the playoffs.
Last year.
Yeah.
What's up?
Embiid last year. Embiid won MVP last year and then gets, trounced by Boston. It's like, unfortunately, these are regular season awards. And, I'm not mad about it, though. Like you said, Flannel, if any of those three guys would have won it, I definitely thought it was going to come down between Stefanski and Ryans, and that's what happened. I think Campbell should have got a couple more votes, but...
Yeah, and Robert Colosia, who's kind of hating a little bit in the chat. I don't appreciate that. I'm not going to call you councilman. You're not a councilman to me. You're just Robert Colosia. Fun fact, Houston Texans were 10-7, not 11-6. Doe, and I don't know who he's referring to, and that was like the Homer Simpson Doe, but they also had 3 wins the previous year. There's some
and they won their division.
They won their division at 10-7, and Spenny, you can talk your shit for the rest of your life. As much as I don't like people taking victory laps all the time, Spencer, that was a hell of a prediction, and I kind of thought you were crazy.
You got to take your victory laps. I take mine all the time when I predicted the Lions would be as good as they were, but nobody else believed in me.
I said that shit before the draft, too. Before the draft, before they got C.J. Stroud, before they got Will Anderson, I said Texans are going worst to first.
I remember that.
It is funny, though, that when you are able to draft the offensive and defensive rookie of the year, it's funny what happens.
Yeah. That definitely helps.
But nobody thought, I never heard anybody say C.J. Stroud was going to be what he is. I didn't hear not one person say that.
No, but
I mean, we didn't know the
I
stigma on
thought he
Ohio
was going to
State.
be good. I didn't think he was going to be that good.
Yeah.
yes.
There's a stigma on
Because
Ohio
everybody
State
was talking about the Ohio State quarterbacks.
Yeah.
They don't really pan out well in the NFL. I heard that. I didn't hear anybody say this kid was going to be good.
No, I mean, I think people thought that he was going to be okay, but nobody thought that he was going to be the greatest rookie quarterback ever. I mean, that was with the season that he had cannot be overstated, but I don't know how there's an easy way to transition
If
to
you
from
did
this.
say, if you thought C.J. Stroud was going to be the best rookie quarterback of all time, you might have been hitting Dispo. And if you want to go to Dispo, all you got to do is go down the street because there's one near you and experience a team that curates an unbelievable atmosphere mixed with fresh inventory from Michigan's largest variety of products. Come through our stores and order on Dispo Dash today. New year, new deals, same plug. Dispo Dispensary, DispoShops.com, your local cannabis plug.
Feel alive during Feldman Chevrolet's biggest New Year's sales event ever. Get the best prices on our huge selection of award-winning Chevrolets. Like this 2024 Equinox for $188 per month. Or this 2024 Silverado for $268 per month. It's the New Year's sales event going on now at Feldman Chevrolet, Michigan's #1 Chevy dealer.
A ton of fun, a ton of sports, and a ton of man-meat. Welcome to the Woodward Heavyweights, live daily 5 to 7 p.m. on Woodward Sports.
We've just received word. The world's cannabis supply has vanished. The public is outraged and has taken to the streets in response to this tragedy. The individual responsible acted alone, and we can only hope they will make things right soon.
Welcome back to Big D Energy Live on the Woodward Sports Network. I am Flannel Sam, and the man to my left is Lindsey
I'm the man of your
Hunter.
life?
That was a weird slip up in terms of my vocalization. But you know what? I'm glad that we have Lindsey Hunter here because he is the one more uniquely qualified than anybody else at the network to make us all make sense of what went down with the Pistons in terms of the trade deadline. Because the roster, in a lot of ways, and except for the young core, of course, looks borderline unrecognizable. I've got a list in front of me of who's in and who is out. Out. Oh, here are the players that left the Pistons over the last 2 days. Killian Hayes, Joe Harris, Monte Morris, Bojan Bogdanovic, Alec Burks, and Danilo Gallinari. Who has joined the Detroit Pistons? Simone Fontenecchio, formerly of the Utah Jazz.
Shout out Fettuccine.
Hey, shout out Fettuccine. You got Quentin Grimes, formerly of the Knicks. You've got Shake Milton, who last played for the Minnesota Timberwolves. We've got Troy Brown Jr., the corpse of Evan Fournier, and Malachi Flynn. So, Lindsey, what do you think the Pistons' thought process was on the macro level, and are you satisfied with this trade deadline?
First of all, I have no earthly idea what their fucking thought process is.
All right, let's go.
Because this shit is scatterbrained to me. Secondly, I thought we were acquiring, guys to package something to do something else. That's what I was thinking. Obviously, and I'm not going to say they don't have a plan, but I can't figure out their plan.
Yeah.
There is no roadmap that I'm watching right now to say, okay, this is what we're doing. Okay, I understand what we're. Yeah. I just don't know right now. Maybe we're gearing up for the summer to possibly make some acquisitions through free agency. Hopefully that's what we're doing. But with what we have, we basically didn't do anything.
Yeah. Got some second round picks though.
What the hell is that going to get?
I mean,
a whole lot of nothing.
I know that it's the trade deadline. It's a complicated situation and everything. But when you're looking at this, is just me because I know the Pistons kept their core, and this is just a very simplistic view without any nuance. The players that left look better than the players that came here. Yeah. I'm just saying that. I mean,
no, that's not. Look. Yeah. No, that's a fact.
Yeah, I mean,
you're not saying anything far-fetched. That's a fact.
I mean, say what you want about Bogey, and I know that he's somebody that a lot of us wanted to get rid of. He was a 20-point-a-game guy on 40% three-point shooting. Mm-hmm. Alec Burks was another one who, at times this year, even though he was a little streaky, was a bucket. Danilo Gallinari looked okay when he played.
No, but Gallinari can guard me right now,
and that's also very fair. And that's part of the role. But when I'm looking at who they just acquired, I'm looking at Simone Fontenecchio, who, you know what? I'll give him this. He was a starter for the Jazz. He can shoot the three.
He started for the Jazz?
He started at times, yeah.
I was about to say. He wasn't at times. I believe he only averaged 8 points a game.
Yeah, I believe he played 50 games and started 30.
See, and this is what people get misled about.
Yeah.
And we've often talked about this even when I was still playing. We would look at guys and we would look at their stats. And this is at the time they were trying to say, oh, but if this guy played 38 minutes, he would average X amount of points. No, some guys are who they are. Some guys are 8 points a game through 10 minutes and 30 minutes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's just the reality of it. And that's, role players, that's not a bad thing. But let's not start thinking that a guy all of a sudden, and sometimes that happens rarely. Mm-hmm. Rarely. I can name one guy that kind of transformed himself into a high caliber player, and that was Steve Nash.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's very few and far between guys jump from one role and become something else. So I'm not expecting, Fettuccine to come here and be extraordinary. If
they're 2-0 in the Fettuccine era.
If he can be a great role player and knock down shots, then he's serviceable.
And 2-0 the Fettuccine era. So is it safe to say he's not going to turn into the 6'7" forward version of Steve Nash? Probably not.
I would love that. Yeah, I would love that.
Oh, yeah, and I want to get your opinion on this, Spenny, and this is from Chuck Brewer. Sam, we got 2 3-and-D players. Our defense is much better.
I would agree with that. I watch Quentin Grimes a lot because I'm a Knicks fan as well, so I'm familiar with his game. I'm familiar with the way he plays ball, and he is a great defender on the outside, on the perimeter. Fettuccine can also play some defense on the perimeter. They got rid of their old shooters and brought in young shooters. That's what they did at the trade deadline. It's not anything crazy, but they didn't have the pieces, I think, to go out there and get some stud unless they're giving up Ivy or Cade or Duren, and they made it clear that they didn't want to do that. So I'm not too mad about it because it's not like they gave up a bunch and didn't get anything in return. They gave up some pieces and got some pieces back. And I think this rotation now, I want to say the bench rotation is better, and when I look at what they can do with the starting lineup where you put a Fettuccine and a Quentin Grimes in there and you can have guys that can play defense and shoot at the same time, I think that helps Caden Ivey a lot more than a guy like Bojan, who you can have out there and he's a dead-eye 40% three-point shooter but is a traffic cone on defense, or a guy like Asor Thompson who is a lockdown defender but can't hit a shot to save his life. Oh. Yeah. So I think these two guys bring you a little bit of both at the same time.
So guys, question for you guys. Do you think – what do you guys see – what we have now, what do you see this team turning into in the future? Do you think this is a team that is – the core is good enough for us to build around that core and to become a playoff team, or do you just think we're still moves away? What do you guys think?
If you go ahead, KD.
I still think we moves away, man. Like it's
no,
cool.
No, we know we're moves away, but I'm saying this core we have right now. You think, they're good enough to build around, and you're seeing
they can be
7 years from now. Competing for championships.
They absolutely can be, I feel like, because when you look at Ivy, you look at Cage, you look at Duren, those 3 pieces alone, if they can consistently be 20-point per game scorers and provide, some defensive relief, then I feel like they can build with that core, but it's going to be hard. They do still need that one extra piece.
So you think, we know Cade can average 20.
Yeah.
You think Ivy can average over 20 a game?
Yes.
You think Duren can average over 20 a game?
Close. That'll be tough. I think 17 plus. I could see him.
We're saying we have.
He went crazy.
Out of those 3, that was last night. Out of those 3, we have 2 All-Stars. That's what y'all telling me.
I think. I think Duren could be an All-Star.
Yeah.
So who? Cade and Duren, or Ivy and Duren?
All 3.
I think 3.
So we got 3 All-Stars.
I think 3. They have the potential to be. Yeah. I couldn't see them all making it at the same time, but. I think at some point in their career, all 3 of them will make an all-star team, yes.
So you're saying those 3 are going to be better than the three guy, the three-headed monster with the Celtics. Because they have 2 All-Stars.
If those guys were in their prime, if Holiday was in his prime, then no. But potentially, they have the potential to be, yes.
Yeah, well,
I don't think anybody's going to be at Tatum's level.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody will be at Tatum's level, but I think Ivy has the potential to be better than Jaylen Brown.
Mm-hmm.
And
What?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm not a Jaylen. I mean, I love Jaylen Brown's defense, but as a pure scorer, as a playmaker,
We just talking potential.
I think Ivy can be better potentially.
We just talking potential.
Can be better.
go ahead, Lindsey.
If Jaylen Brown was on the Pistons, he'd be clear-cut number 1 option.
Right now, yeah.
Hands down.
But he's not
for the rest of his career.
I don't
Yes.
think so.
He's not a true number 1 though.
Who?
Jaylen Brown.
Yeah.
That's the only because Tatum's there.
You think he's a number 1 on any other team besides a losing franchise? On a winning squad, is he a number 1?
Yes.
On what team? Please enlighten me. If you send him to a winning franchise, where is he a number 1 at?
Depends on what franchise you're talking about.
Let's see. On the Bucks, is he a number 1?
I'm out on Jaylen Brown
got-
because he's in the dunk contest this year.
On the Miami Heat,
Bro,
on the Miami Heat,
you're
is he a number
talking
1?
about teams with a bona fide superstar. Nobody's going to be the number 1 option as long as
If you
Giannis is there.
If
That's
you
fair.
calling Jaylen Brown the number 1, you're calling him a superstar essentially. Do you think he's a superstar caliber talent?
Just because you're a number 1 don't mean you're a superstar. That means you are a all-star.
I think at their peaks,
A superstar is a bona fide guy that's. I think if Jaylen Brown is your best player, he's getting you to the playoffs. He's getting you to the playoffs. That's the all-star.
depending on the pieces you put around him, I
Yeah,
could see that
yeah.
for sure. But I also think that Cade Cunningham is going to be better than Jaylen Brown. I think Cade Cunningham at his peak will be a better player than Jaylen Brown.
I certainly like.
I would hope so. Jaylen Brown he's got the dog in him.
He does.
He do.
And he plays on both ends of the floor.
Cade Cunningham is somebody though that I for me he's always been my perfect kind of basketball player. A guy with great size for a point guard, can pass, can dribble, can drive. Is not the most athletic, but certainly is one of those guys that his archetype is someone of a winning player. Although the Pistons haven't done a lot of winning with him, but it's not his fault. Obviously.
I'm going to give you a perfect synopsis of who he is. He's a lesser Paul George.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not as athletic as Paul George.
No.
He does all the intangibles like Paul George. He can do everything. They both can do everything. Paul George is, of course, more athletic.
Yeah.
But Paul George is a guy that if he's your number 1 guy, you're not going to be what you possibly could be because you're going to always look at him and think, oh, man, he's going to be a superstar. Paul George will never be a superstar. He's going to always be an all-star.
I mean, that year in OKC, he was top 3 in MVP voting. Like, when he was the legit number 1, obviously, when he began his career, he was the number 1A with Danny Granger in Indiana. But
he'll tell you himself, and he's put this on record. He's not your number 1 guy.
He's not. I would agree that he's not a number 1 guy that'll bring you a championship.
Yeah.
No.
And I could agree that I could say the same.
But you got
Cade.
and to be fair, with all of these guys, there are only a few guys that are number 1 guys in the NBA that's going to take you there.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
You can
agree.
count them on one hand.
Yeah. Luka,
Oh, for sure.
Jokic,
Yeah.
Embiid,
Giannis.
Right.
and Steph. Well,
Right.
It used to be LeBron. I don't know if LeBron's there anymore.
No, he's past his prime.
he need
but
help.
He used to be.
Yeah.
But
He certainly used to be. Yeah, right.
But those guys are hard to come by. So that's why I'm saying I think Cade is a great player. I just don't think Cade is the number 1 on a championship team.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
I can agree with that. But also, I can, I don't know, it's the number 1 on a champion. If these guys all pan out to be Jaylen Brown level talents, like the Paul George level talents,
right.
You put them all together, I think they could do something. I don't know about a championship. You still need a stud for sure, like a ringer. But I like a lot of what Ivy, Duran, and Cade Cunningham can all be that perennial all-star level talent, I think. Maybe not superstar, but perennial all-star.
I mean, you can even argue that this year, when he's been on the court, his numbers have been all-star numbers. He's just not going to get there with how few wins he has impacted. Again, not his fault.
Him and Paulo got the same numbers when you put them up
Yeah.
next to each other.
Whoa.
Cade and Paulo got the same numbers when you put them up
No,
next to
we
each
know
other.
Paulo
So
is
there's
the
a
better
difference
player.
in numbers and impact.
Yeah,
That's
Paolo
true.
is the better player, clearly.
that he's one of those guys.
He is, yeah.
Let's not do that now.
Paulo
I'm not
is
going to let you do that.
We should have fucking had him, too.
Yeah, man.
Well, hey, when I first saw him, I saw him at Duke, and I was like, damn, is he really that good?
He's a big dude.
And when he's humongous, first of all. He's big as shit.
Mm-hmm.
And when I saw him with the skill level, and he got a little Carmelo Anthony in him.
Yeah, that's what he reminded me of.
And I was like, okay, he's one of those guys.
That's why I love him.
Now he's different.
He does remind me of
and look where he has
Melo with
Orlando.
better
Look who he has
defense.
Orlando.
He reminds me of my boy for sure.
Yeah.
Oh,
with
yeah.
better defense, yeah.
He might end up being better than Melo.
He very well could be.
That's a lofty statement.
Not
but,
Olympic.
Dude, he's an all-around better
that
player
guy.
already than Melo.
and you know what? I don't hate that. And I'm not nearly the mellow guy that Spenny is. Spenny, that's his
Top
fake-
5 offensive player ever.
No, for sure.
And the best Olympian in USA history, Carmelo Anthony. Let me tell you guys about Guardian Alarm, something Carmelo never could do, and that's play defense. Guardian Alarm will offer you customized solutions from real experts. Their professional technicians will take the time to recommend security and automation solutions specific to your needs. They also got 24/7 professional monitoring. You can call them anytime, day or night, and know a Guardian Alarm team member will stay on the phone as long as needed. And of course, they have technology backed by people. Your safety and security deserves technology. It's been proven to work and people who have been proven to care. So call them at 1-800-STAY-OUT. That's 1-800-STAY-OUT, and let them know Big D Energy sent you.
Love Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Woodward golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today. We don't like to brag that we are the toughest sports network in Detroit, but we do have a guy named Darren McCarty on our side. Woodward Sports.
Have you ever wondered where all the finest restaurants get their steaks? It's Fairway Packing Company, providing Michigan restaurants, hotels, and casinos with prime beef for over 60 years. But now you can buy these cuts of meat for yourself at the Steak Shop by Fairway Packing Company. Prime porterhouse, A5 Japanese New York strip steak, dry aged Wagyu beef tomahawk. Delicious. Get to the Steak Shop today. Enjoy fine wine, have a private party, and get the finest cuts of meat anywhere. The Steak Shop on Mack Avenue in Grosse Pointe Woods, or order online, fairwaypacking.com.
For over 60 years, Fairway Packing Company has provided Michigan's finest restaurants, hotels, and casinos with prime beef, Wagyu beef, and dry-aged beef. Experience the Fairway difference for yourself today. Visit the Steak Shop in Grosse Pointe Woods for grab-and-go steaks or order online at fairwaypacking.com. So yes, I want to continue the Detroit Pistons talk because Spencer Raxter asked a very interesting question that I would love to get Lindsey Hunter's opinion on. I think this is something that might turn polarizing amongst Pistons fans as the weeks go on. And just for the record, Jaden Ivey in the last couple of games and the Pistons' 2-game winning streak, he can't miss from three, and he's been their best player on both of them.
Yes.
But that has led the question to be asked.
Well, I don't know. Jalen Duren might have been the best player last night.
That's fair.
27, 22.
Yeah.
That's fair.
And he was 9 of 10 from the free throw line, which was, I love to see that.
Can you blame me though for saying someone who shot 7 of 7 from three?
No.
Okay, they
I can agree.
Duren and Ivy last night. Love you guys.
That was beautiful.
But Lindsey, are the Pistons better off letting Ivy be the Batman to Cade's Robin?
Let Cade be Robin?
Yes.
Yeah. So
No.
Cade is the 2.
No, stop. Come on, guys. Cade is the best player on the Pistons team. And I think regardless to how you stack it up, when he's back in the lineup, the numbers will show that. And the fact that he's such a multi-talented guy, you know, with assists and rebounds and all the other stuff he does, it'll show that he's the best guy. Now, I think if Jaden Ivey can play at a high level for, you know, and keep rising the rest of his career, then we'll have a dynamic duo or a dynamic trio. But I think Cade still has room to get better.
Yeah.
And, of course, we know Jaden Ivey does also, along with Duren. So those guys, if they can grow and keep growing and getting better, then we'll have a dynamic duo. What is their ceiling? That's my question. Like, what is their ceiling? Like, can Cade average over 25 a game? 25, 6, and 6. Let's say something like that. Can he be one of those guys? Can Jaden Ivey be 20 plus a night with 5 or 6 assists? I think we know what Duren is. Duren can be 20 and 10.
That man's a beast. That's what
he can be 20 and 10.
That's all we need from him.
Yeah. I mean, 20 and 10, that's Hall of Fame number.
And 3 blocks.
Right.
Yeah.
So if those guys can raise their level of play to that, then you're looking at something that you can say, okay, we legitimately have 3 guys that we can build around. And don't forget about my boy Sasser.
Yeah.
I
like him.
Speaking of guys who played well last night.
That guy, when given the time,
spark plug,
he can get it done. I don't care what you say. The kid can guard. He can he can put it on the floor. He can catch and shoot. He can get to the rim. He got it. You just got to let him cook.
I heard Greg say last night during the broadcast he's shooting 53% from 3 on the road.
Jesus.
Is that
you know how hard that is?
Yeah.
On the road.
53% from 3?
Yeah.
Even at home, that's amazing.
If you do that, you're the best shooter who ever lived.
No, seriously.
Yeah, right. So speaking of the best shooter, I just got to throw this in. Did you guys see Steph last night?
Man. The chef at it again.
Those damn Warriors just won't go away.
No, they're gone, but he's not.
I mean, they're gone in terms of being a championship contender, but I'd kind of like them to bow out of the playoffs this year, but I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't think they're going to make it. I don't think.
You don't think they'll make the playoffs?
No. What are they, 11th right now?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
They're 11th.
Yeah.
They look pretty good their last couple of games, though. But KG, go ahead.
No, so I wanted to ask you this, Lindsey, because a lot of narratives been going around since the trade deadline. Do you think K and Ivy can play together? Because I see that being a big topic of debate of whether their games actually fit together once they're both on the floor. What do you think about that?
See, I think so, but that's more coaching than anything else than playing. That's figuring out how to get your guys to mesh. What sets are we running for certain guys? How we're going to use them in particular situations. That's not all about, because as a player, I'm out here to do what I do.
Right.
Look, this is how I play. Coach, you better figure out how to get me, in my situations. So especially when you play with, I play with some great players.
Yeah.
They didn't give a damn about how you felt about them playing next to you. All they cared about was, look here, you better get me this ball in this spot or in this situation as much as possible, or I'm going to get it myself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's how those guys are wired,
Yeah.
Play with Rip Hamilton. Rip didn't give a damn about nothing but, hey, set these screens so I can come off. These curls, and Chauncey, you better deliver that ball right here.
Yeah.
That's all he cared about.
So if it was your choice, who would you have playing off ball or running the offense? Would you have K running the offense, or would you have Ivy running the offense?
I don't think it matters.
Okay.
I don't think that part matters. I just think you have to have an offense with some fluidity in it that whoever initiates it, it really doesn't matter as long as it's playing to their strengths.
Yeah.
We
talked about this yesterday on the heavyweights, and I said I still think Cade's the Batman because, like you said, he is the best player on the team. But maybe it's time to let Ivy be the point guard. Let Ivy be the point guard, and then at the end of games in crunch time situations, you let Cade take the ball up the court, be the guy, take over. But in the beginning of games, obviously it doesn't have to be 100% Ivy, but let Ivy take the ball up the floor a little bit more than what he has been doing.
Well, I think definitely in transition.
Yes.
Yeah.
You get him get him the ball in open court, and he's phenomenal because he's still, watching him in half court, he struggles a little bit decision making when making the reads off pick and rolls. He has to grow in that area, but you get him some space and let him play in open court, he does his thing.
And can Cade get some goddamn calls, please, man? He was getting smacked in the face yesterday.
Dude, hey, stop it. They're not going to get calls right now.
Yeah.
You're the worst team in the league.
But he's literally getting smacked in the face.
Smitty, I've been there.
Yeah.
I've been on the worst fucking team when you get clobbered and the ref does this to you. Get up.
Yeah.
And you looking like, it's a fucking foul.
And then calls a tech on you.
Yes. Right. Dude, I'm serious. You don't get calls when you're not good.
Yeah.
It's not fair.
I mean, I'm so glad that you're here, though, to give that voice as somebody who's experienced that. Because, yeah, we can all see that Cade Cunningham deserves more calls. But as long as they're the worst team in the league, I mean, what?
Nobody cares, dude.
No
They treat you like a sacrificial lamb everywhere you go. Oh, they're going to lose anyway, so we're not giving them shit.
Yeah, and at that point, unfortunately, that's where the Pistons are at. That's what happens when you are the worst team in the league. I got a question to pose for you, Lindsey, because you expected this team to compete for a play. And I'm not trying to remind you or dunk on you or anything.
I fess up to it because this is my team. I roll with the Pistons, good, bad, or indifferent. I'm a diehard Pistons fan, and we could lose 65 games in a row, and I'm still gonna fight for my team.
Sure.
I'm gonna talk shit about them because I'm mad at them, but I'm still gonna fight for them.
Well, and just to make you feel better, I predicted them to win between 30 and 35, and that doesn't look like it's going to happen. Yeah, I think we all did because we see some of the players that they drafted and we were excited about, and even a guy like Marcus Sasser, who we hadn't seen play up to before this year. We see him when he's on the court, and you see his numbers, and you're like, man, this guy's really good. You see what Asar Thompson can at least give you defensively, and at the beginning of the year, he was putting up numbers with points, rebounds, assists. He just right now is a terrible three-point shooter, but he's not shooting very many of them. I guess the question is, as we're talking about Cade and Ivy, is this the type of core in terms of drafted players that can eventually bring the Pistons to more winning ways? Because I, for one, am shocked that they are as bad as they are. With the collection of young talent that they have, you'd think that they would at worst be normal bad, not worst team in the league bad.
It was never supposed to be this bad.
That was my biggest concern. I'm like, dude, why is I love young basketball players. I love to see young guys come up and do well. But when we're looking at a team that's historically bad, you got to start thinking like, okay, do we break this up? Do we try to make some moves and add some more superior talented guys, proven guys, or do we wait this out? That's a big decision to make. Now, if we had Wembanyama on this team, then I would be like, don't worry about it.
Right.
We're going to be good. We're going to be fine.
Yeah.
But we don't have that, 7'3" freak.
We should have.
It's the NBA for you.
So that's my thing. I'm skeptical about, like, how good can we be? Like, are we going to mature and be just regular bad?
Well,
not historically bad.
They have had a stretch their last 12 games where they've gone 5-7. Is that a sign of things to come to end the season? Yeah, where maybe they could be pushing 20 wins or something. I know that that's not what we wanted coming into the year, but considering the way that they started, there was times where people thought they might break the record. They might win 7 or 8 games. Now it's looking like that's at least not going to happen, but it's not good right now.
No.
But you still see some promise with that core. It's just I don't think what they did on the trade deadline really excited anybody.
I like it to the point where, like I said, I think the bench rotation got better, and I think when I talk about what I liked with the Knicks and what they did at the trade deadline, how at the end of the year they're going to be able to run 4 out.
Yeah.
With OG, Randall, Burks, Bogey all on the outside, and let Brunson go one-on-one at the end of games and kick it out to shooters. I think the Pistons can do that to a point as well with Fettuccine, with Grimes, with Ivy, and then you have Duren as a lob threat, and you can let Cade go one-on-one with somebody. The floor is going to be spaced a lot better, and the defenders you have now are better than what you had. It's not life-changing, but I do think that the bench rotation got better.
Are you concerned at all, Spenny, and I'll throw this to you too, Lindsey, that about Quentin Grimes? Because a couple years ago, not this year, but last year, I thought that he was very valuable to that Knicks team. But this season, he just been in the doghouse a little bit, hasn't quite put up the numbers. Is that something that's indicative of who he is as a player, or is it just a bad stretch and he could use a change of scenery?
Well, playing for Tibbs is difficult.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That man will wear you down.
And that's why I laugh at, Spenny and the Knicks fans who think they're going to do something in the playoffs because they're going to be burnt out. Tibbs is going to run that team in the ground. That's what he
every
does.
year.
It's
every
with the
year it
Bulls.
happens.
Every single year.
Look, when Derrick Rose got hurt, he shouldn't have been in the game.
Yes.
No, he shouldn't have.
They were up.
They were.
With the game over.
That's right. They were
and
up.
They kept, because I'm going to tell you something.
Yeah.
And I'm not telling you something that I heard. I know this. Tibbs is so concerned about his defensive efficiency, he's going to leave his starters in as long as possible to make sure that his defensive efficiency doesn't take a dip.
And unfortunately,
he does it all the time. He won't change because to him, that's a badge of honor. I have the best defense in the league. It's a badge of honor. Instead of winning the game and letting the stats take care of themselves, that's Tibbs. And if it costs him to run his guys in the ground, that's what it is. And even in his practices, dude, he wants them to go hard in shoot-arounds. Yeah. When Rip went to Chicago, Rip Hamilton went to Chicago after he left here, he was like, dude, we had to get taped in shoot-around. I was like, what the hell going on? But that's Tibbs. He has that old school
mentality.
Approach.
Yeah.
Well, and Tibbs hasn't won anything. And he's had a lot of regular season teams that have been successful. But speaking of regular season teams that are successful, when we come back, we're going to talk about the Detroit Lions and a player on the offensive and defensive side of the football that you think will break out. But first, I have to talk about a place that never has to break out because they're never down. That is Big Boy. Wintertime in Detroit is always better with comfort foods from Big Boy. Try the veal parmigiana or the new Southern Comfort chicken bowl. How about breakfast? The stuffed potato pancakes are back. The classic lumberjack or Santa Fe Garde. Also, new apple pie hotcakes that are too good to miss. Top it all off with new gingerbread shake for dessert. Stop by your local Big Boy today.
Have you ever wondered where all the finest restaurants get their steaks? It's Fairway Packing Company, providing Michigan restaurants, hotels, and casinos with prime beef for over 60 years. But now you can buy these cuts of meat for yourself at the Steak Shop by Fairway Packing Company. Prime porterhouse, A5 Japanese New York strip steak, dry aged Wagyu beef tomahawk. Delicious. Get to the Steak Shop today. Enjoy fine wine, have a private party, and get the finest cuts of meat anywhere. The Steak Shop on Mack Avenue in Grosse Pointe Woods, or order online, fairwaypacking.com.
We don't like to brag that we are the toughest sports network in Detroit, but we do have a guy named Darren McCarty on our side. Woodward Sports.
Come to any Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men for an award-winning haircut experience from one of our talented stylists and register for a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to win an all-expenses-paid suite for the 2024 NCAA tournament for you and 5 of your best buds. That's right, college basketball's most elite event. You and your 5 best friends just get to any Lady Jane's today for an award-winning haircut experience and automatically register to win the trip of your dreams. Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. Lady Jane's, it's wicked awesome.
Are you tired of wearing the same old Detroit sports merch? It's a new era in sports wearables, new designs, amazing apparel, and the ultimate swag. Check out Woodward Sports' latest gear at woodwardsports.com and click shop. Hoodies, tees, and the hats that are guaranteed to turn heads. Get the latest designs today at woodwardsports.com and click shop. And before we get into the Lions talk, I just, Lindsey pointed something out in the chat that I have to respond to as well.
We can do Pistons again.
We'll see how it goes. From the ultimate Piston slappy himself, Shad216JF. If Halliburton is as good as Pistons fans believe him to be, we wouldn't have Cade to begin with. And first of all, I've got an issue with believe him to be. What is... Come on.
He's an all-star.
He's very damn good.
Yeah. And for the record, if I could be told that Tyrese Halliburton was going to be here and Cade could be Thanos snapped off the Pistons, love you, Cade, but bye.
Exactly.
I'm just saying.
But here's the thing, though. Let's revisit this now because think about this. Who do we just waive?
Killian Hayes.
Yeah.
Who got drafted ahead of Halliburton?
Killian Hayes.
Yeah.
So that pick should have been Halliburton. And then now you got Halliburton next to Cade Cunningham.
Exactly.
I guarantee you, if we had Halliburton, we would at least be we'd win 30 plus games.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
I believe
And
that.
I don't think it's Cade that would have not been on this team if we had Halliburton. I
No,
think
it would
it's
have been-
Ivy.
Yeah, it's Jaden Ivey for
We
sure.
would have had Keegan Murray instead of Jaden Ivey.
With Keegan Murray.
Keegan Murray, Halliburton, and Cade.
That would have been nice.
Now you talk.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
Wow.
Now, do we think any of our guys is going to be good as Halliburton? That's my next question.
Yes, I do.
He's leading the league in assists.
I know. His assist to turnover
So nobody
ratio.
on our team is going to lead the league in assists.
No,
Let me
his
tell you that
assist to
right now.
turnover ratio is crazy.
And Chuck Brewer, you don't want to do this. You don't want to play this game. Indiana, the 6th seed. So now we're knocking on 6 seeds. Come on.
Right.
Come on. Don't be don't be Pistons bots right now. This is not the time. This is not the time in Pistons history. Don't be that person. But anywho, let's talk some Lions, because I wanted to pose the question to everyone, and I will start with one that I think might be controversial as somebody who needs to break out. It's more of, I'm looking at it more from the standpoint of somebody who was already had a damn good year, but I think can be special. So I have a breakout defensive player. Can I interest you in Brian Branch for next year, breaking out for the Detroit Lions? And for the record, he had a damn good rookie year. I think he was one of the best rookies, period, in the NFL. I think he had a stronger case for Defensive Rookie of the Year than what played out in the votings, but still. And with Brian Branch, you know what's interesting about his season this year? I said a lot of the same things about how he can affect the game in so many ways with what he did his final season at Alabama. Whenever we were talking about Brian Branch, I couldn't help but bring up his last year: 90 tackles, 14 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, 2 interceptions, and 7 pass deflections. But what Brian Branch did for the Lions this year was he was 5th on the team in tackles, tied for 2nd in interceptions, tied for 2nd in tackles for loss, 1st in pass deflections, and had the only defensive TD on the team for the Detroit Lions, which was of course that pick 6 against the Kansas City Chiefs. And oh, by the way, Branch, his coverage grade as a slot corner, he only allowed an 86.9 passer rating when targeted and only gave up 424 yards and 5 touchdowns on the season. And oh, by the way, on PFF, he's listed as a corner, not a safety. He is the 7th highest rated corner against the run in the entire NFL. And my point wasn't to just highlight how great he was last year. My point is to highlight how he can affect the game in so many different ways. And I believe with what we saw with Brian Branch was actually the floor. I think he's got some things that he can even clean up and become even more elite at. And I think by the time of next year, and I'm going to say for next year, and this might be a little bit of a hot take, but I want to talk about breakout players for next year. He might be, in terms of hardware, get similar accolades to what Kyle Hamilton did in his second year, as in fighting for All-Pro and Pro Bowl spots, because I just think that he's a guy that can affect the game in so many ways, is supremely talented, is supremely smart, but could even get better. Lindsey, I'm going to ask you, is there somebody on either the offensive or defensive side of the ball for the Detroit Lions that will have a breakout year in 2024?
Well, offensively, I think you guys already know who I'm going to go with. I think J-Mo will have a breakout year.
Yes.
I think he'll be targeted more. I think they'll trust him more to, run the proper routes and be where he's supposed to be. I think he's a season of working with golf and, doing what the quarterbacks and receivers do in the summers is get to know each other. I think he'll have a phenomenal season from the beginning, and I think golf will trust him more. And people don't understand. I hear people talk about a lot of times. They start watching film and saying, well, J-Mo was wide open right here on this play. Well, you got to understand, there's a thing called progressions. Mm-hmm. And if you're the third progression on a particular play, you're never probably going to see the ball.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's fair. And with me, when it comes to Jameson Williams, and a lot of people think that I hate him, and a lot of people think that...
No, we don't think you hate him. We just think you hate on him.
Okay. You know what? That is a distinction that I'm glad that you made, because here's why I say that Jameson Williams is a good answer by you, and I think an obvious one.
Right.
Because when it comes to Jameson Williams, I can acknowledge that he made a lot of big plays last year.
Yes.
I mean, with the last one being that end around in the playoffs. And I don't think that he is a bust. But what he has put...
You don't think he's a bust?
Hold on. What he has put up as far as the start of his career, though, is bust numbers. I think this is the year where he does get involved more. He hopefully doesn't get hurt in the offseason or get suspended in the offseason again, is there from day one, and can be the true number 2 wide receiver, because so far, as much as we all like what he can do and what he has done in shorter spurts, he only had 354 receiving yards last year. He still has not had a game in which he has had over 70 receiving yards. I think that will change. I just think that means he needs to break out, at least on an individual basis.
Well, yeah, the only way he can do that is to be allowed opportaires to do that.
Mm-hmm. And that might be the year.
He has to be targeted more. So
I got killed for saying that shit earlier in the season.
Yeah, you did.
I said, throw him the ball more. He's dropping the ball. You're only giving him 2 targets a game.
Yeah, that's
right. That's it. I don't care how great of a receiver you are. If you're only getting at max 3 or 4 targets a game, you're not going to maximize your potential.
Yeah.
And with all the other things that he had going on, the suspension, which was bullshit.
Yep.
We all realized the suspension was
so stupid.
Yeah. The injuries, we don't know what's going to happen with guys injuries wise, but he showed you what he can be. If anybody's questioning now what J-Mo is capable of, then you obviously just don't want to believe, because the guy is a game changer.
Yes.
And we saw that. You can do different things with him. You can run end rounds with him. You can throw bubble screens to him. And with that speed he has, at any time, you have two guys on the Lions offensive team that at any time can take it all the way. You have 2 home run hitters. And not many teams have that.
You know what, Spenny? I'm kind of interested to get your thought on this.
Yeah, I mean, I do think it's going to be J-Mo. I think he's going to break out. I think he's going to easily take that number 2 wide receiver role next year. You saw what he did down the stretch with these hands catches, contested catches on the sideline, in the end zone, making things happen. I agree with Lindsey. I think they're going to give him a more complex route tree. It's not just going to be go routes and bubble screens. They're going to have him doing some better routes, getting him in better situations, some drag routes across the middle. Like, how many times can we see that? Like a crossing route with Jameson Williams, you get the Ben Johnson offense, which is flowing all this way, Jameson flowing the other way, get the ball in his hands and just let him fucking go. Yep, so I think he's going to be the number 2 receiver pretty easily next year.
Well, and Detroit Dabber 313, he says this, cherry pick the stats, LMAO. Ignore targets, but judge based on total yards. Here's the thing, though. And I want to ask everybody this, and this is more rhetorical. If you guys want to answer, you can answer. 354 yards is not something that anybody is going to accept every single year moving forward. That is why I bring up the bust numbers, because every single great wide receiver who's ever played in the NFL eventually puts up numbers. I think that Jameson Williams has a very good opportunity to, but he could also turn into, I'm not saying he will, but one thing that can't be argued is that he did affect winning in a lot of ways. He did. Some of his big plays were huge.
Against the Bucks, the first game.
I guess the question is, and Spenny, I'm kind of curious to get your answer on this. Is there any chance that he becomes a different version of New Orleans Saints Reggie Bush? Never becomes the player that he was destined to be, number 2 overall pick, running back, one of the most exciting players in college football history, but does get a Super Bowl with the New Orleans Saints and does make a lot of dynamic plays.
I think it's possible. I think it's possible when you look at how this offense is structured that he might never live up to the most dynamic receiver in the draft, but I still think he's going to be a deadly player. I still think he is going to be used as a fantastic player, and I can see this kid making Pro Bowls. Like he is a extremely talented player. He's got the speed that kills. We saw him on the reverse against Lindsey's 49ers. You had Greenlaw grasping for air. You had Nick Bosa turning around like goddamn, because he's just that game-breaking speed. So I do think he's going to be a kid that you got to look out for sure.
No, and that's 100% fair. I've never said that he's never going to affect winning or anything like that. I've just said that the numbers that he's put up right now and the production that he's given, even if it does help the team, that is not what he was drafted for this team to be. But I also think that next year it wouldn't shock me if there's the possibility that Josh Reynolds isn't on the team anymore, or even if he is, that Jameson Williams will be targeted more. And like I said, I recognize that it's all about availability too. He wasn't given the best chance. He was drafted with an injury, which wasn't his fault. And then the suspension, you can say that it's bullshit and all of that, but the only pushback I will give to that is that if it was, I would think that there were more gambling suspensions thrown out, like tickets in Birmingham, but you didn't really see a whole lot. That's the one thing that I will say. But
they changed the rule though, so I mean
that's fair. You know what? I will give you that. But I think J-Mo is such an obvious answer though, and I think it speaks to there aren't a lot of players on the offensive side of the ball that I could see really breaking out, because they already have.
I mean, J-Mo is the obvious answer, and we want J-Mo to be successful, because I think they need him to be successful to get to the next level.
You know what I mean? Ceiling.
They gotta have a deep threat.
Yes.
You know, all of the teams that were in the Final Four of the playoffs, except for the Chiefs, have a deep threat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The Chiefs are the only team that don't have a deep threat.
I'll tell you what though, MVS in the playoffs starting to. Exercising some demons. Yeah. I'll just say that. Exercising some demons.
I bet he starts dropping balls in the Super Bowl.
He probably does. We'll see. He probably does. But obviously, MVS, I'm kind of joking a little bit. KG?
Yeah, can I throw honorable mention out for defensive breakout?
Absolutely.
Aleem McNeil. I think we should be on the lookout for Aleem McNeil. He did get injured in the middle of the season, and he was actually on his way to having a really good season from the interior tackle position. If you can get another D tackle with him, I expect him to have a lot more, maybe not like a ton of sacks from the interior, but he should definitely improve on his numbers. He had 5. I think he can easily get to 7 or 8 with some help.
Wouldn't it be great if Aleem McNeil, because Aleem McNeil, you could argue, was one of their breakout players this year.
Yeah.
He took that next step. He became that, at some points during the year, you thought he could maybe even be a borderline Pro Bowler. But then he got hurt and all of that. But if he takes another step, man, you could be talking about a Pro Bowler at that interior of the defensive line.
Do we think Gibbs is going to be the number 1 back next year? Or?
Yes.
Yeah. You know what? That's not a bad option, though, for like a breakout player. Because you can say he did, but on the other hand,
I was begging for him all year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, dude, you got to get this guy the ball. Like, this dude is unbelievable. And he proved to be that.
But there are ways that he could improve. I mean, I could see him getting more of the lion's share of the carries. I could see him maybe getting 1,200 rushing yards last year. And to be fair, he wasn't as much of a receiving threat as maybe we were led for him to believe. Although that did pick up, at least in the first couple of rounds of the playoffs.
Right.
But I would like to see, I don't know, maybe 1,100, 1,200 rushing yards, 500 receiving yards.
Yep.
I know that that's a lot to ask, but I think
it
possible.
is.
For him,
I
if he gets the carries, then I think he can do that. Because
Yeah.
I think he's special.
I think he had under 200 carries this year, and he had 900 yards.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's crazy.
I'm talking more about the receiving yards, because if that's when you have to start to ask the question. I mean, Amon-Ra is going to get his, Sam Laporte is going to get his. If J-Mo breaks out, there's only one ball, but who knows? I could definitely see it, because Jahmyr Gibbs showed the receiving talent in Alabama, and even at times during this season, he just had a couple of critical drops and wasn't as big of a part of that part of the offense as we would have thought, but he was still damn good. Nobody can complain about Jahmyr Gibbs. And coming up next, we are going to talk about how the Lions have been built, and if this is something that can be sustained into winning Super Bowls and building maybe quite a run for the Detroit Lions. But first, Swiss Insurance.
Football season is almost over, but insurance never dies. Make sure you hit up Swiss Insurance if you want the best insurance. Shop it like a pro. They cover Woodward Sports, and they should be covering you too. Hit up my guy Mark at SwissINS.com or call 248-800-4177. It's Swiss Insurance.
At Planet Fitness, you can get energy without the judgment.
Hi, can you help me with this?
You don't know how to use it?
This is better.
Join now through January 19th for just 24 cents down, $10 a month. Never intimidating, always free fitness training and equipment for every workout. Join today during the Big Fitness Energy Sale for 24 cents down, $10 a month, cancel anytime. Deal extended through January 19th.
Over 50 Metro Detroit locations.
A ton of fun, a ton of sports, and a ton of man-meat. Welcome to the Woodward Heavyweights, live daily 5 to 7 p.m. on Woodward Sports.
Stop searching for a vehicle and start finding one. Les Stanford Chevrolet Cadillac makes it easy. We harness the power of multiple dealerships and own the biggest selection of GM brands in the area to get you the car you need. With the Les Stanford Group, you'll have access to 4 different dealerships, providing you with more makes, more models, and more choices. We're connected to more than 1,000 vehicles. And with so many high-quality CPO vehicles available, you'll find new car quality at pre-owned prices. You can start and end your search at lesstanford.com today.
RIP to the same old Lions. Big thanks to Sheila, Brad, and Dan for putting them to rest. And guess what else has found the grave? Same old rock, paper, scissors. Jack Labrador has revolutionized that tired game with 2 new symbols and a franchise-changing 3-point play. Discover the action at jacklabrador.gg now and find out why. Once you go Jack, you never go back. Welcome to Hour 2 of Big D Energy live on the Woodward Sports Network. Big D, I am Flannel Sam. The guy to my left, of course, is former Detroit Piston and champion Lindsey Hunter. We've got Spencer Raxter, as always, in the TD booth. Good to have you as my right tackle today. And, of course, KG in the sound booth. This is his permanent position now, and we love to have him here. And, Spenny, Matthew Kruger, Malcolm Rodriguez, breakout, baby, mark it.
I would love to see it happen, but I don't think it's going to happen. Yeah. I think Jack Campbell. That is my. We only got like 6 minutes in this segment, so if you want to push this one back. I think Jack Campbell is going to be the breakout guy for me. You look at what he did down towards the end of the season. He was playing a position that he's never played before in that Sam linebacker, and he still ended up being second on this team in tackles with 89. He was making big plays. I think Jack Campbell is poised to have a big season next year when he gets more run, he gets more snaps at that middle linebacker position. I think they're going to phase out Fanzalone a little bit, even though I love him. I love him, and he had a great year. I just think you drafted this kid to be that dude. Yeah. You drafted Jack Campbell to be that man in the middle, and that's what he is. They call him Captain Jack for a reason. He's a big-ass dude. He lays the lumber, and he can cover. So I think that he is going to have a breakout season. I think he's going to be a 100-tackle guy next year.
Oh, for sure, and a 100-tackle guy. And I think what you saw as the season went along with Jack Campbell is he had some really, really rough games at the beginning of the year where he just looked like out of place, and, of course, he lost some playing time. Derek Barnes was starting. Alex Anzalone obviously broke out. But as the season went along, he did become more consistent. You saw him be more comfortable in coverage. He was used on blitzing from time to time and got home a couple of times. And what Jack Campbell was sold to be and ultimately ended up being was a tackling machine, and that is a big part of playing the linebacker position. I personally may have had too high of expectations. At one point, I was calling for a rookie Leighton Vander Esch style season. That didn't quite work out, but you know what? That's not a knock on Jack Campbell. He's certainly the guy on defense, and he's the guy on defense and also the one rookie out of the first 4 picks that there's still some question about, but man, if he can become that every down linebacker next year and really become that consistent player, maybe not a star, but consistent-ish, damn, that would be huge for this defense because he's more talented than Alex Anzalone. He's more talented than Derek Barnes. He's got the ceiling that they just don't have.
Yeah, linebackers, man, are we look at linebackers throughout the history of the NFL, we used to think that was a main cog in every great defense, It's definitely with the 49ers.
Shout out Patrick Willis, Hall of Famer.
Shout out Trey Greenlaw.
Yeah, I just congratulated him this morning. We got 2 monsters. 2 monsters. And I would like the Lions to upgrade that position. I think they need, at least you got to have
one more good linebacker.
Yeah, you got to have one more stud in there, like a reckless wrecking ball. You know what I'm saying? A guy that can cover sideline to sideline. When you get a linebacker that can do that type of thing, that can run with tight ends, that can, drop back in coverage, that can come up and smash running backs or can blitz. I mean, that's asking a lot.
Yeah.
But that's what the special ones do.
Yeah.
And all about special ones, being a 49ers fan. You used to have Navarro Bowman and Patrick Willis, and now you got Drake Greenlaw and Fred Warner. That's that
49ers defense with Navarro Bowman and Patrick Willis is one of my favorite defenses to watch.
Dude, they were monsters. Yeah. They were monsters.
Those guys just played so angry.
But that's how Greenlaw plays.
Yeah, for sure.
Greenlaw is the guy, he's the guy that's walking down the street that you see and you move over.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because he's going to elbow you or bump into you or, you know what I'm saying? Start a fight. I love him, man.
Patrick Willis is like a top 3 favorite defensive player for me ever. Number 1 is probably Cam Chancellor. Just because Cam Chancellor was a monster.
Man.
Ray Lewis is up there, and Patrick Willis is up there. I love linebackers.
Hey, how can you not? Those are some of the most exciting defensive players to watch, and ones that I certainly grew up on, and you did too, Spenny. And Gromit 0237, as we were talking about rookies, or they have a sophomore slump. You get that negativity on out of here.
Right.
No, I'm just kidding. It's obviously something that is possible. If we're talking about, speaking of players who could break out, and I forgot what show it was. It might have been the Heavyweights, or it might have been another one. Ife Melifonwu, because Ife, he's a guy who had, especially the last 4 games of the season and the first couple games of the playoffs, he was a revelation. Once he was brought in there, once he was being set on blitzes, he was just a demon, like sacking the quarterback, getting interceptions. But also, it wasn't even just that. When you dig deeper into the numbers, because I like to do that, I like to also go to websites like Pro Football Focus. He was the 9th rated safety in the entire NFL this year. The only problem with him is that you wonder, can he do it over a full season, because he only played really 7 games and then bits and pieces of others. So, Spenny, could you see Ife Melifonwu having a breakout year?
Definitely. I mean, we saw what he did last year when he finally got involved in the defense. He was flying all over the place. They were blitzing him very well, using a lot of different schemes to get him after the quarterback, and he was I said this before when me and Easy went to the training camp 2 years ago. I saw Deshaun Elliott walk out on the field. I was like, damn, Deshaun Elliott, he's pretty big for a safety. And then if he walked out next to him, I was like, God damn, he is a big dude, man, and he plays the ball very well, being a former cornerback. And I just think I could definitely see him as a prime breakout candidate.
Yeah, I guess the question is, because you can't really question his ability anymore, can he stay healthy? Can he play a full season? That is to be seen, but damn, it is somebody that I think we all had written off, and he just came on strong. If we're talking about comeback player of the year, the in-season comeback player of the year, it has to be Ife Melifonwu. He had a hell of a season. But if Ife needs a few extra workouts or reps in the offseason, we know where he can go, and that is Planet Fitness. Planet Fitness is home of the judgment-free zone where anyone, and we mean anyone, can feel comfortable and work on their fitness goals. At Planet Fitness, you'll experience a squeaky clean gym that has tons of equipment, a full-body workout in just 30 minutes, and all memberships include fitness training. You get all of this for only $10 a month, no commitment. No matter where you are, there's a Planet Fitness close by. There are more than 50 in Metro Detroit and thousands more throughout the world. It's Planet Fitness, where your fitness is essential.
Savor the heart of home at Big Boy with our all-new down-home comfort dishes. Feast on home-style goodness with our Southern Comfort Chicken Bowl, veal parmigiana, and apple pie hotcakes. The down-home delight doesn't stop there. Potato pancakes are back. Dive into the richness of our perfectly crafted potatoes with our classic potato pancakes and our stuffed potato pancakes. Top off your meal with our new gingerbread shake, a seamless blend of creamy vanilla and sweet gingerbread flavors. Nothing beats the comforting taste of down-home cooking. Enjoy every meal.
We don't like to brag that we are the toughest sports network in Detroit, but we do have a guy named Darren McCarty on our side. Woodward Sports. Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Woodward Golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
Feldman Chevrolet, Detroit's #1 Chevy dealer. With 18 locations, there's a Feldman dealership in our backyard. Visit feldmanauto.com to find the location nearest you. Since 1996, Feldman Automotive has been driven to provide a fast, convenient, and first-class car buying experience called the Feldman Advantage. Catch Woodward Sports Network live from Feldman Chevrolet of Novi every other Monday. Welcome back to Big D Energy Live on the Woodward Sports Network. I am Flannel Sam. We have Lindsey Hunter, the guy to my left, two-time NBA champion, which I am certainly not. We got Spencer Raxter in the TD booth, and we have KG in the audio booth. And one thing that that is to be seen about the Detroit Lions is how much are they going to spend in free agency? Are they going to make that splash move, or are they going to make smaller moves that end up being impactful in the future, like a David Montgomery or a Graham Glasgow, for example? The question is, and I'm gonna start with sort of my opinion on this. Is this something? The Going to Work Lions is what it's been named, at least by Spencer Raxter. I don't know if that's gonna if that's going to catch on, but it certainly might. Is this the type of model? If the Lions don't decide to spend big, if they decide to draft and then re-sign their own guys, is it something to where the Lions can hit their ceiling or they can win a Super Bowl? And I'll be honest, it's not really my preferred way. I would like to see them make a move this free agency. But they made the NFC Championship game and were a 17-point halftime lead away from going to the Super Bowl. This model has at least worked for them up to this point, getting them from 3-13-1 to that said NFC Championship game in 3 years. And then you look at all of the talent that they've been able to accrue, like Sam Laporta, for example, All-Pro. Amon-Ra St. Brown, All-Pro. Frank Ragnow, who was obviously drafted by Bob Quinn but still stayed here, All-Pro. You've got a Penei Sewell, All-Pro. And then young defensive players like Aiden Hutchinson and Brian Branch, with their defense being a lot better this year than it was the previous season. You can't really question at this point whether it'll work or not, because you've seen it take them to where they're at right now. If the Lions would have just won a division and then a playoff game, or maybe lost the first playoff game, then you'd be thinking, man, they're really going to need to do some spending in free agency. But at this point, although I'd rather prefer for them to, if they don't, I can't even hate it because what they've done has worked so far.
Yeah, and you can look at the history of how they do things and see that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen. They're not going to go out and go crazy in free agency, overspending on, so-called big name free agents to come here and make a splash. That's not going to happen. They're going to do it the way that they've been doing it. They have homegrown talent that has turned into sensational players, sensational young talent. And maybe they'll add a couple of pieces, but I don't think they're going to go crazy in free agency and spend a lot of money on, trying to hit a home run with a guy. Yeah. I think they have shown that this process works.
Yeah.
This process works. So you can't look at it and say, oh, well, no, it's working. They're right where they need to be, and everything's trending the right way. So I think the way they're doing it right now is the way they're going to continue to do it, which makes sense.
Yeah, because the Lions, they're not just NFC North good. They're not just NFC North good. They're not just NFC good. They are one of the best teams in the NFL.
There you go.
They were on the field.
Which I'm going to pat myself on the back because I said that a long time ago.
You did.
That's true.
You 100% did. And that one of the best teams in the NFL lost to one of the other best teams in the NFL in the NFC Championship, your guys. But you guys, with the San Francisco 49ers, you're more talented. You've done the big splash signings like Christian McCaffrey or Trent Williams, for example.
Those were trades.
Trades, yes, first. I mean, yes, obviously trades, but still, you had to acquire them somehow, and they did. They made the moves to get superstars, but when they both lined up on the same field, the 49ers were better, but the Lions could play with them.
No, I said this a while ago. I said who was number one? Did I say? I said the Ravens were 1, the Niners were 2, the Lions were 3. Those were my 3 teams that were at the top.
Yeah.
And it proved to be true.
Yeah, you can't. Well, Chiefs.
Yeah, but they weren't. They weren't.
They stumbled in.
No, now they've worked their way into it, but they weren't a top. They weren't a top 4 team in the league at the time.
Yeah, and Hoofhearted, he mentions in the chat, I think this is what Brad Holmes values, and you should when it's a salary cap league. The Lions have only the Lions have only 2 good contracts, or have only bad contracts on the books right now. The Lions have only good contracts on the books right now. The worst 2 are Tracy Walker at $11 million and maybe Levi Onwuzurike at $2.5. So they do have the cap space if they want to make some moves. I mean, Spenny, would you be disappointed if the Lions didn't make a big move? Would you understand it? I mean, what would your approach be if they just decided to more resign their own guys?
I would be a little disappointed, I'm not going to lie, if they didn't go out there and get a big free agent, but I'm not going to die on that hill because that is their mantra. That is who they are. It looks like they're going to re-sign their guys, run it back, and build through the draft, and I can't argue it anymore. It worked. Would I have liked to have Chase Young when we played the 49ers in the NFC Championship game?
Yeah,
absolutely. I would have. Yes. That would have been pretty fucking good. But it's who they are. It's who Brad Holmes is, and I'm not gonna kill him for it anymore. I overreacted a little bit on the trade deadline, I will admit, but some of the words that I said rang true. They lost to the Cowboys and the Seahawks and the 49ers, so I'm just saying. But I believe in what Brad Holmes is building, and I'm not going to freak out, even though I do think they should go out and pay for an edge or a quarterback in free agency.
I have a question about this mentality, because I think it's one that might have a split answer, and it's one that I'm not even sure if I agree or disagree with at the moment. This is from Just a Fan in the chat. Don't overpay in hope of a Super Bowl, because if it doesn't work, now what? I mean, Lindsey, your team, they got to win one eventually. They very well might this weekend, but they're another one that they've had a lot of cracks at it and haven't been able to get it done. Would it be one of those cases of if they don't win one with all these players like a Christian McCaffrey and a Trent Williams and of course the other core, would it be just why did we do that, or would it be the journey and like watching a lot of good football?
Yeah, it's the journey is always what you remember the most after you win, if you can win a championship of any sorts. But you threw your chips to the middle of the table, and you're like, look, it's either now or never. And I think that's how you have to go after it. I don't think you can sit back, especially, think about it, they've been there 4 times. Been in the championship game 4 times, and you were knocking on the door.
Yeah.
Got an unfortunate injury last year. You know what I'm saying? You have to say, this is our time, because that window is going to close soon. You know, they're getting guys that are, you know, I think the oldest guy on the team is Trent Williams. You know, but other guys are getting up in age. You have to start saying, our window is open right now, but the window is slow to open, but it closes fast.
Yeah.
Big fact.
So you have to try to win it while you can. And then when you're right there, that's when you start gambling. Like, look, we gotta go for it. And but like a guy like Christian McCaffrey, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Best in the world.
Yeah, if you can get a guy like that, you go get it. You can get Trent Williams, you go get it.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And I just think when you're trying to win it all, your mentality changes. And when you're close and you taste it and you go, look, man, we got to try to get there.
Go all in.
You go all in.
Well, and the reason we're even bringing this up, other than the fact that the Lions have been very successful with mainly just drafting and smaller free agency signings that have ended up being a lot more impactful than even we necessarily thought as fans, and they thought, is that the comments that Brad Holmes made about it just seemed, if you want to read between the lines, may have given a hint about what his mentality is and what they are going to do. And KG, I heard you sound like you wanted to say something to respond to Just a Fan. Do you agree with the statement that don't overpay in hope of a Super Bowl, because if it doesn't work out, now what?
Yeah, no, I think it's the smarter play by Brad Holmes to continue to develop through the draft, because when you look at it, they made it to the NFC Championship off the backs of 4 rookies and a lot of second-year players. That's damn near impossible in the NFL. It's hard to win with that amount of youth on your team, but you still have them under rookie contract control. So I think that is the smarter play. Yeah, if there's a player that you absolutely need, then you go out and spend. But as of right now, I like how he's doing it, man. Just keep drafting the right way, but it is going to be crucial upon him to keep hitting on his draft picks, not just the early picks, but also the later picks, because when you look at it, the later picks have been money for him, and they've really come in and helped the Lions a lot. When in past regimes, drafting late was like, it was a free space, essentially. It was worthless, you know. So yeah, I think he needs to keep doing it the way he's doing it.
Sure, yeah, and you like I said, if that's not what you necessarily would prefer, like even myself, that's fine. But when the results speak for themselves, like how they have with this Lions team, then you can't really question it too much. The default is always trust Brad Holmes. I know people are going to almost get tired of it, or if it's like a mantra, but you also have to remember how great he's been for this team. And Matthew Kruger brings up one of the unicorn examples of the Los Angeles Rams with the whole F them picks thing, but then they bottom out for a year, and then the next year they draft a guy like Puka Nacua and Kobe Turner, and they're right back in the playoffs. So, I mean, 2 unicorn picks in their own right. So there's many ways that you can take this. And Spenny, I'm kind of curious about your thoughts on what Just a Fan said. Don't overpay in the hope of a Super Bowl, because if it doesn't work out, now what?
I disagree. I think, first of all, I understand like all the Lions fans that are saying, you know, I want to build a dynasty, I want to sustain success, I want stuff like that. I want a Super Bowl. That's what I want. I understand it's nice to say, yeah, we want to be the Chiefs. We want to be the Patriots. We want to be this and that. That shit doesn't happen very often. That doesn't. You don't get a 10-year period where you win 5 Super Bowls very often.
No.
So I want a Super Bowl. And if you sell out and go for a Super Bowl and it doesn't work out, I have the faith that Brad Holmes will be able to replenish this team with talent through the draft.
Yeah.
Because he's proven to do that. So if you sell out, you pay a bunch of guys a bunch of money and go for that Super Bowl and it doesn't work out, I have faith they'll be back to where they are with Brad Holmes draft picks.
Yeah, and Chuck Brewer brings up something. If you're one player away, then you spend, but when you have holes everywhere, you can't. You know what? I will say this.
I think they're 2 players away.
And I think you can argue that they're 1. I think you can. An argument can be made with how close they were.
What one player you think they're away?
Cornerback.
Where?
Cornerback.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we're going to talk more about that a little bit later. And speaking,
honestly,
hey, go ahead.
Honestly, I think they do need secondary help.
D-line more important.
I think they need a defensive lineman.
Yeah.
I don't really think they're like necessarily say a player away, because I think they're right there. I think they're right there. Like, I wouldn't be mad if they stood pat and just went back at it. Okay. You know, now adding always enhances if you get the right piece, but I think they're right there. Like, people don't understand how hard it is to win a Super Bowl or even to get to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Dude, and I talked about it last show when if you look back at some of the Super Bowls that the Patriots won, think about some of the crazy ass plays that happened to get them there.
Yeah.
Trust me, I know. Trust me.
Yeah.
He calls Tom Brady the luckiest player of all time.
But I'm just saying, if you can look at every Super Bowl and the path that team took and look at a game and you go, damn, that play happened?
Yeah.
Look at the Rams.
Right.
That non-pass interference against the Saints?
Yes. Like, there's
yeah.
so many times you look back and you see there's so many breaks that didn't go one team's way that went the other team's way.
You know what? I am so glad that you mentioned that, because when we come back, we're going to ask the question. I think I know where you fall on this. Is it Super Bowl or bust for the Lions next year? But first, tell us about Premier Pet.
Premier Pet Supply is hands down Michigan's best pet store. They got the same prices and all the conveniences of the big box retailers, with one major difference. They're family and locally owned and operated for 30 plus years. The same great service the customers have come to know and love. Over 60 brands of food with nutrition experts to help you. Lowest prices and curbside home delivery. Premier Pet Supply. Give your pet the best at www.premierpetsupply.com.
At work and at home, we're there with smarter security solutions. Featuring complete automation with customized alerts and more. For over 90 years, we've been the company that's been counted on to protect what matters most, all with personalized service and care. Right now, for a limited time, receive a free video device plus free installation with a new home system. Guardian Alarm. We protect Michigan.
A ton of fun, a ton of sports, and a ton of man-meat. Welcome to the Woodward Heavyweights, live daily 5 to 7 p.m. on Woodward Sports.
Come to any Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men for an award-winning haircut experience from one of our talented stylists, and register for a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to win an all-expenses-paid suite for the 2024 NCAA tournament for you and 5 of your best buds. That's right, college basketball's most elite event. You and your 5 best friends just get to any Lady Jane's today for an award-winning haircut experience and automatically register to win the trip of your dreams. Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men, open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. Lady Jane's, it's wicked awesome.
What happens when you run a great business for over 50 years? You expand and offer more products to more people. That is exactly what Les Stanford did by adding Les Stanford Buick GMC. The same great service the customers have come to know and trust on Woodward Avenue, just south of 9 Mile. Check out Les Stanford in Dearborn today and find the brand you want at lesstanford.com. If you see me drive around in the Blazer, you know I got it from Les Stanford. Les Stanford Chevrolet. Together, let's drive.
Welcome back to Big D Energy Live on the Woodward Sports Network. I'm Flannel Sam. We've got Lindsey Hunter, former 2-time NBA champion, to my left, KG in the audio booth, and Spencer Raxter in the TD booth. So the question that I think is very interesting, considering how last year ended, considering how phenomenal of a year that the Lions had, especially by the standards that were for them prior to the year, is next season, Lindsey Hunter, should it be Super Bowl or bust for the Detroit Lions?
No doubt. I think that's how you have to approach it. If you don't approach going where they went this year, if you after this offseason, when the season starts, every guy in that locker room will be thinking, we got to win the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. I guarantee you. I know Dan Campbell's going to be thinking that way. He may not say it, but he's going to be thinking that way, and he's going to be telling his troops, hey, we got to win it all this year. Because we know what it's like, and we have the team that can get there. And that's the attitude I think they have to have. That's the approach everybody should have.
Well, at this point, they're big boys. They're not up-and-comers.
No.
They're not cute.
No.
There should be a law. I think this law should be passed in it's not a bill anymore. It's a law. I'm not just a bill anymore. That if your team...
I'm just a bill.
Capital Hill. Look what I just started. I like it.
They don't make cartoons like that anymore.
No, they don't. Hey, Schoolhouse Rock is good.
Right.
But if your team has a 17-point lead in a conference championship game, next year is Super Bowl or bust. It just has to be. Yes. Not only is it Super Bowl or bust, to me it is win the Super Bowl or bust. Because like, as I said before, the Lions are one of the best teams in the NFL. They are set up for success as well as any team in the NFL. And think about this. The 49ers, every single season is Super Bowl or bust. The Kansas City Chiefs, every single season is Super Bowl or bust. Even the Philadelphia Eagles, the Baltimore Ravens, hell, the Dallas Cowboys, even though they choked again, they have the expectations
you know
of Super
what?
Bowl
And that's
or
the
bust.
problem. Like the Cowgirls, if the Cowgirls can expect the Super Bowl every year, anybody should.
Really.
Well, and for the record,
For real.
I'm not mad at Lions fans because this season was different. They had to win the division for the first time in 30 years. They had to win a playoff game for the first time in 30 years. This season was a rousing success and also a missed opportunity in a way at the same time, which even furthers the point that it has to be Super Bowl or bust next year, or win the Super Bowl or bust.
So a question too, because I got a lot of buddies that are Lions fans. Why? And I understand there's going to be one team that's happy at the end of this year. The Lions fans seem like they were just overly upset about losing in the championship game. And I guess I kind of understand because of the way it happened. But at the same time, the season should be celebrated because you see what's to come.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I know people say, well, we missed the opportunity. Dude, every team that loses missed an opportunity.
Not like that. Though.
Yes.
Not like that.
Sam, it doesn't matter.
It does.
No, it doesn't matter if you lose at the buzzer or you lose by 30. You lost. You lost. I remember when Robert Horry hit the shot, sent it into overtime, and we lost.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't matter. We lost.
I know, but 17-point halftime leads in a conference championship game don't grow on trees. You have to hold that lead. And I'm not saying that they needed to come out and be dominant and win the game by 24 or 30. Nobody was really expecting that, but hold the lead. And it took so many things for the Lions to shoot themselves in the foot with Josh Reynolds dropping that fourth down, with Jahmyr Gibbs fumbling, with Josh Reynolds dropping another a third down. Mm-hmm. It was, by those standards, a choke job.
No.
Yes.
No, it
I'm not going to let you say that. No.
You give them 27 straight
They
points,
didn't
that's
choke.
a choke job.
Choking is what the Cowboys do every year. That's a choke job. First of all,
Blowing a 17-point
First
lead?
of all, let's go back to the beginning of the season because I don't remember one damn person telling me the Lions were going to be in a championship game, including you.
Some people were saying that.
No, obviously.
So I don't want to hear nothing about choke. They got somewhere that they haven't been. That's uncharted territory for them. You know, people react differently under pressure, especially when they've never been there. So people say, "Oh, he dropped the ball. He should have." Yeah, a lot of guys drop balls in situations that they shouldn't, that you think they shouldn't. Yeah. It happens.
So are you saying, and I think that there's some validity to this, by the way, that if you exceed expectations, which the Lions did,
yes,
then it's impossible to choke.
Yes.
Then you were successful no matter what. And obviously the Lions had a successful season.
Because I look at choking as, oh, we got the best team, we're clear-cut favorites, and we folded.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Cowboys do every year. They claim they had the best defense. Oh, we got the best. Dak's MVP. This is the best team we've had in years. And they go and they shit their pants every year.
They do.
Yeah.
And I'm loving it every time.
And Lindsey, you're not wrong, but I feel like a lot of it is we can't guarantee. I know we think our window is open and it should be. You know, we should have success going forward, but we can't count what happens year to year, man. It is literally a year-to-year league, and we anything can derail us next season. It could be injury. It could be a number of things. You got to take your shot when you have it. That's why a lot of people are upset when you have a 17-point lead in an NFC Championship game and you let it go. We don't know if we're going to be back here next year. We think so. And we should be, but every year is not promised. So you got to take it when it's there.
And I agree with you, Kenny, that there's no guarantees in life. And yes, the Lions are set up very well for success, but forgive me if I'm still a little bit bitter when the Super Bowl hasn't even happened yet. The Super Bowl that our team was a 17-point halftime lead away from being in, we would be having very different shows right now.
Yes, we would, but still, I don't like the fact that, you know, you're associating choke with what the Lions did. I don't like that.
I think it's not on the season like a choke. In a vacuum, they choked in that game. Mm-hmm. If you're up 17 and you end up giving up 27 straight points, that's a choke, man.
It's crazy.
Yeah, but you didn't give up 27 straight points to just the average team. You gave up 27 points to a juggernaut offensively.
That is
you
fair.
got on every level. You got a top 3 or 4 players.
But you were dominating them in the first half.
Yeah, are
we not a juggernaut too? We're a top 2 team in the NFC.
Yeah, but you're a young juggernaut.
I get it.
So being young, you saw some of the young things happen. Guys dropping balls that you didn't expect. That happens to young guys. Dude, God rest his soul. Remember when Kobe Bryant went to the conference finals that year and shot 7 air balls?
Yeah.
Did he choke?
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
He didn't choke.
Yes, he did.
No, he didn't choke. That was his first time being there. It's not the fact that he choked. He just didn't know what the circumstances of that situation was about. He's never been in it. He's never been in it.
I don't hate that. When he actually choked was against the Detroit Pistons in 2004. But
he didn't choke then. They just got beat.
He got clamped.
Yeah, they didn't choke. We just cut all that water off.
Yeah, that's a hell of a bar right there. By the way.
Right. Talk that shit.
I just maybe I'm wrong in this. I'm open for the possibility, but even some of the people in the chat, the real K Collins 77, that's how football goes sometimes, Sam. And it's just like when the percentages of them winning that game were definitely somewhere in the 80s. It was not something that's even nearly acceptable and just a fan kind of doing what he does. Lions hurt Sam's feelings, but a loss is a loss is a loss. I don't agree with that.
If we say that the Atlanta Falcons choked against the Patriots in the Super Bowl, it goes hand in hand with the Lions.
But the
choking
Lions
against the
weren't.
Raiders.
I mean, the Falcons weren't a young team like that. But
that was their first time there as well. They've never been there.
No, it wasn't their first time.
They've never been to the Super Bowl.
Yes, they have.
With Matt Ryan and them. No.
Oh, not with Matt Ryan,
Yeah.
but the Falcons have been to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
You know,
but not with that team.
No, not with that team. But they didn't have a young core like the Lions had.
That is fair.
Yeah, and Terrell from FL, lots of people that have been in a first-time situations have closed games out and not choked. I mean, that's fair. But that's not me trying to denigrate the season or anything like that. It's more of just in that game. I just think there's been almost, for some people, this rush to just kind of be like, everything is awesome. And it's like, I'm sorry, it's not quite awesome yet. The season was, but the Lions should be in the Super Bowl, man. I'm sorry, I'm a little bitter. But
in later years, this will be celebrated. This season will be looked upon fondly. But right now, it hurts, man. It does.
Matthew Kruger. First golf choked in the Super Bowl, then in the championship second half.
I would say golf choked.
Well, in the Super Bowl, he was in with the Rams. He was pretty bad. But I was just reading that to kind of be funny. If Josh Reynolds catches at least that 4th down, they're in the Super Bowl. So I just Chris Pugh, and to me, this illustrates to why choking I think is a little apropos. It's either choking or bad juju. The drops. The helmet, talking about Kendall Vildor, which bounced into the hands of Brandon Ayuk, and the fumble.
But you can look at the play when it should have been interception with J-Mo had. The ball was in. Yeah. Those things happen. Like you can't say, oh, they choked. I don't think they choked, dude. When the momentum switched, when the momentum changed, and the 49ers start rolling and they start scoring and they start getting stops, you can see like. When it started to happen, like, the game has changed. The momentum has totally swung the opposite way.
Yeah, and that's fair. It's just in 100%. But Chris Pugh, what he said, all of those things happened in like a quarter. Right. Like back to back drives. And it's just like that 17-point lead disappeared like it was Thanos snapped off this earth. It was
seriously.
It was one of those that if you had to commute to a different house during halftime, you might have been like, what the hell just happened?
Brandon Cass said Ben Johnson stopped running the ball. That's when the game turned. No. Our defensive coordinator finally, after giving up damn near 250 yards the first half, loaded the box. Finally.
Hey.
And I'm sitting there looking at him like, why is he sitting back? He is a cool dude, but he's not a good defensive coordinator. I'm sorry.
Steve Wilkes?
Yeah, he's not good.
Yeah.
He's not good.
I mean, he's no DeMeco Ryan. So
no.
Hell no, he's not. He's neither one of those guys.
Man, the 49ers have had some
great
damn
defensive
good coordinators.
Damn good.
Jesus. And now we got him, and he's up there talking about he didn't want to come out of the box. I coach better from the box. Shanahan was like, you better get your ass down here.
Get your ass on the sideline.
He's like, it's like, because Kyle Shanahan's got some unfinished business too, and he's not going to let Steve Wilkes do anything to mess that. and credit, they won the game. But I guess the overlying point overall this is that the Lions did prove that they're right up there with the big boys. They're presumably going to get more talented no matter what they do. That's why, to me, it has to be win the Super Bowl or bust. And for the record, there's not shame in having a failed season if your expectations are high. You're not going to win the Super Bowl every year. I'm not asking for them to win the Super Bowl every year. I'm just asking every year for it to be your expectation, or else you feel like you effed it up.
Yes.
Or like you effed up in some way. That sounds a little harsh, but you know what I mean. But you know what is always a winner? Jack Labrador. R.I.P. to the same old Lions. Big thanks to Sheila, Brad, and Dan for putting them to rest. And guess what else has found the grave? Same old rock, paper, scissors. Jack Labrador has revolutionized that tired game with 2 new symbols and a franchise-changing 3-point play. Discover the action at jacklabrador.gg now and find out why, once you go Jack, you never go back.
At Planet Fitness, you can get energy without the judgment.
Hi, can you help me with this?
You don't know how to use it?
This is better.
Join now through January 19th for just 24 cents down, $10 a month. Never intimidating. Always free fitness training and equipment for every workout. Join today during the Big Fitness Energy Sale for 24 cents down, $10 a month. Cancel anytime. Deal extended through January 19th.
Over 50 Metro Detroit locations.
We don't like to brag that we are the toughest sports network in Detroit, but we do have a guy named Darren McCarty on our side. Woodward Sports.
We've just received word. The world's cannabis supply has vanished. The public is outraged and has taken to the streets in response to this tragedy. The individual responsible acted alone, and we can only hope they will make things right soon.
Are you tired of wearing the same old Detroit sports merch? It's a new era in sports wearables, new designs, amazing apparel, and the ultimate swag. Check out Woodward Sports' latest gear at woodwardsports.com and click shop. Hoodies, tees, and the hats that are guaranteed to turn heads. Get the latest designs today at woodwardsports.com and click shop. Now to the moment we have all been waiting for, because the Super Bowl is happening this Sunday. Unfortunately, the Lions aren't in it. The question was asked on the prep sheet, and I resent half of it, Spenny. Super Bowl preview. Lindsey's 49ers versus Flannel's Chiefs. Not my Chiefs. Lions fan. Those actually are Lindsey's 49ers. I am a Lions fan.
The Lions are my second team.
That's fair. And the Chiefs, at least Patrick Mahomes' legacy and the hoping it gets built up even more, is my second team. So
we're going to split his fucking helmet.
We shall see. So, Lindsey, do I even have to ask? Are the 49ers going to win this game?
No doubt.
Are they, and how are they going to do it?
I think we'll control the ball. We'll keep it out of Patrick's hands for a while. I think McCaffrey's going to go bananas. I think they're gonna get the ball in his hands as much as possible, as soon as possible. I think you'll see a ton of screen plays. You're going to see a bunch of counter runs. You're going to see some bubble screens from Debo. And I think once all those things come into play, then the middle of the field is going to open up for Ayuk and Kittles.
That sounds like something that the 49ers are more than capable of doing.
And one thing I want to see Shanahan do, because he went away from it during the playoffs for some strange reason. We didn't motion our guys. We didn't do any type of pre-snap motions. Normally, that's all we do. You see 3 or 4 times guys are moving and shuffling and moving around to try to confuse the defense or figure out if they're in man or zone.
Yeah,
I think we'll see more of that. You got to pull out all the stops. It's a Super Bowl.
Well, and that leads me to another question. Do you see the 49ers playing their first real complete game start to finish of the playoffs? Because the Green Bay Packers, obviously, that wasn't a complete game. And then the game against the Lions, it was a tale of 2 halves. So could you see? Do you expect the 49ers to play a complete game?
I do.
Okay.
I think they'll come out. I don't think Shanahan will be as conservative as he normally is with his first set of scripted plays. I think he's going to come out and say, look, let's go. Let's do what we do. We ain't trying to feel nobody out. Let's go out and try to get it done, because they're going to have to. Because I think, although this Chiefs team, they don't scare me offensively as much as they used to, but defensively they're pretty damn good.
Yeah, they are.
And they're holding teams down enough to keep. If you keep it close with Patrick Mahomes, you're asking for trouble. Because he's one quarterback, and I said this before the Ravens played him. I was like, that's the last team they want to see.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, because you got a quarterback that can win in any type of situation, and that's scary.
Yeah.
You know, but and I think the Niners are going to have to come out and put some points up. Like, they got to turn it into a track meet, because I don't think he has the weapons to keep up.
If the 49ers score like 27-31 or something like that, I don't necessarily hate that, although Rashee Rice, he came on, and Travis Kelce has found the fountain of youth. He might be...
Rashee Rice looks good.
Rashee Rice does look good. And oh, by the way, MVS, he's making up for a lot of stuff in the playoffs. I'm not saying you should count on MVS, but he's made some
We're
some
cracking his
plays.
shoulder pads.
You know what? I don't necessarily disagree with that. Although...
Let him come across that middle and Greenlaw's near.
Greenlaw,
he's going to get a penalty.
Greenlaw, I'm worried about. You're
Greenlaw and Warner are going to talk so much shit about Taylor Swift. I can't. I wish they were mic'd up. Just hear one of them motherfuckers hit Travis Kelce and talk shit about Taylor Swift.
Man.
Yeah. Fred Warner's my favorite player in that NFL. I love
He's
that
a
guy,
monster, man.
Yeah.
He's a
when
monster.
When I saw him going stride for stride with CeeDee Lamb down the middle of the field, I was like, bro, this guy is different.
Yeah.
They gave him the right name, the Predator.
Yeah.
Dude, did you see the second half of the Lions game when they tried to pitch it out quick to Gibbs and he just
he smacked
blew through the line?
Jesus. Oh, yeah.
He was like, no more runs.
Yes. The 49ers linebackers are much better than the Lions ones. I'll just say that. No disrespect to Anzalone, Jack Campbell, Derek Barnes, but Chris Ogdahl in the chat. This is a little aggressive. Sunday is going to be a repeat of the Seattle versus Denver Super Bowl.
Oh my
Chiefs
God.
34-10.
No,
damn.
It ain't gonna be that bad.
No. It is certainly not. Spenny, I'm kind of curious to see where your rooting interests are. I kind of assume where they're at, but tell me how it's going to play out.
Yeah, I got the Niners. I think the Niners are going to win. I think they're the more complete team. I think they have a better level of players at like every level of the field except for quarterback and tight end. Well, tight end is arguable, but I'd say quarterback is the one where the Chiefs really have.
Yeah.
And maybe corner. Quarterback and cornerback, I think the Chiefs have the advantage.
Maybe.
But other than that, I would give it to the Niners. And I just think they're good. Like, they're not going to let this one slip through their fingers again. Like, they know that, like Lindsey said, that window, it opens slowly, but it closes fast. And they're going to go out there, and you're going to see the best called game in a playoff game ever for Kyle Shanahan. He's gonna beat the allegations of not being able to show up in big games in the playoffs. He is going to call a full game, and I think the Niners win. I think it's close, but give me the Niners like 32-27.
32-27. And Lindsey, I got to ask you this: just how big would this be for Kyle Shanahan's legacy? Because he does have some demons, some playoff demons.
Yes, he's fighting a lot of demons here. Because what does everybody talk about with Shanahan?
Talk about the 10-point lead in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs, and then the Falcons Patriots, where he was the offensive coordinator.
Everybody talks about that.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, he had Jimmy G back there. I don't really blame him for that. Jimmy G was throwing to the other team, but I think we have a very good quarterback in place who, if he can play mistake-free football, I think we win. As long as he doesn't turn it over, I'll give him one, but as long as he plays the way that he's been playing under pressure, because he's shown he's answered the critics. Oh, he can't play from behind. He can't play from behind. Well, he's answered the critics in that.
Yeah.
Check that box, right? Mm-hmm. But the thing for me too, man, I just admire Brock Purdy for what he's done in the short period of time that he's been playing. Like, I can't think back of any other quarterback that's been put in a situation like this and has exceeded expectations. Because I don't want to hear anybody telling me, because I didn't think Brock Purdy was going to be as good as he is. Now, when I saw him the first game and saw some of the seam routes that he was hitting, I was like, damn, he all right,
Yeah.
And I started looking back at his career and what he did in college and kind of doing some research on him. Like, damn, this dude is sharp. He can process. His anticipation is probably better than any young guy that's coming to the league, other than C.J. Stroud.
Yeah.
So I think he's the guy.
And he doesn't fold under pressure.
Dude,
man. The way he
doesn't
steps up, takes a hit, and delivers
Did you
the ball.
see against the Lions when he got smacked right between the eyes
That
and he
was
delivered a dart?
unbelievable. That was one of the best throws I've seen all year.
And he didn't flinch.
He didn't flinch. I could not imagine not flinching. He was a Lee McNeil bear down there.
Yeah, that's a big dude.
And that just tells you something about that guy's character, man. Like he seems to be unflappable. Like he seems to be one of those guys that no matter how chaotic it is around me, I'm gonna be who I am. And that's a rare. Forget all the physical attributes that he doesn't have. Mm-hmm. The thing that he does have is he seems to have an ability to persevere through the most adverse situations. And we saw that.
We did. And another adverse situation that could be coming at him is one Chris Jones coming up the middle. We shall see because by my estimation, the 49ers interior of the offensive line is kind of sketchy. Trent Williams is obviously great, but there's a lot of questions surrounding the rest of it. And
they're not sketchy when they pitch it to McCaffrey.
Hey, that's fair. That's fair. But look out for George Karlaftis to have a big impact.
And another thing that's underrated, like. Brock Purdy's very mobile.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, we know. Yeah.
50 yards in the second half.
People think like, he's not athletic. He's very mobile.
He can move.
He's as mobile. Like Patrick Mahomes and Brock Purdy are probably similar in terms of. I get Patrick Mahomes as more like awareness and everything, but in terms of escaping the pocket,
yes,
Brock Purdy looked fast.
Who did he run away from in the Lions? They tried to catch. He just sprinted past them.
Bye-bye. Yeah. No, it was.
I think it's going to be a really good game. I do think the Niners win. I think we win. I think we win by a touchdown.
Okay. Touchdown, and I obviously have the Chiefs winning to the shock of absolutely nobody.
Yeah, we knew you were going to pick,
I'm just trying to think where the Chiefs could really exploit the 49ers. I think Patrick Mahomes. Oh, go ahead.
No, I think it's in the run game. Like this San Francisco run defense is going to have to be ready because I've been screaming it. Isaiah Pacheco is the X factor in this game. Mm-hmm. If you let him get up to 90 yards and a touchdown, they might lose this game.
We're going to split his thigh pads.
And it's possible. It's very possible. But he's been really good.
No, he's been good
for the Chiefs in the playoffs.
How big is he? He is a little guy.
He is smaller.
He's compact.
He's compact. Yeah, he's thick.
Yeah.
He looks thin and fast and like quick.
Well, he certainly stomps the ground pretty hard when he runs. That's for damn sure.
Dude, that's the most irritating run I've ever seen.
I know, but it works for him.
He's not going anywhere fast, but he's.
But I think what makes this Chiefs team deadly, and certainly what's made them deadlier in the playoffs, certainly with like Travis Kelce really stepping up his game, and Rashee Rice had become their number one wide receiver up to that point, is that I've always said throughout this season, even when Patrick Mahomes wasn't playing well and their offense was sputtering a little bit, you're giving Patrick Mahomes the best running back he's ever had and the best defense he's ever had. Mm-hmm. And that's something that they can beat anybody because Patrick Mahomes, as the great Nick Wright says, he's the best we've ever seen. I'm not saying he's the greatest of all time yet. He needs more hardware, but he is the best we've ever seen. And Travis Kelce has been really stepping up lately too.
He's gonna have to. I think the 49ers' plan will be to cut everybody else's water off and not let the receivers do any damage, and try to limit, what Kelce can do. Like if he makes some catches, good, but as long as they're intermediate, not downfield, and tackle well and stop the run game. I think that's what they'll do.
I think the X factor for the Chiefs and where the Chiefs would have to beat the 49ers are on the outside. That's where you got to attack the 49ers defense, is the outside cornerbacks. So it is going to come down to Rashee Rice and Marquez Valdes-Scantling. Like if they can go out there and play like good wide receivers, then they might be able to do something. But you're not going to beat the 49ers attacking them in the middle of the field with those linebackers. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen. And if you try to do these deep breaking routes, those defensive linemen are going to get to you even if you're Patrick Mahomes. So.
Yeah, and Juwan Taylor is kind of shaky as the Chiefs left tackle. Yeah, you're right about exploiting the 49ers on the outside. Charvarius Ward, he's definitely somebody that you have to watch out for. Lenore, he's fine. Yeah, kind of.
Lenore's
Yeah,
Ward
I would say
Ward is good.
Ward is good.
But without Hufanga and without a real,
that hurt. I remember losing him. That was like,
he's all pro. Like
he's a monster.
Yeah,
but the guy that stepped in has been okay. He's held his own for the most part.
Oh, for sure.
But we gotta I hate just depending on your front four to just get home instead of stunting and running.
Yeah.
You know, he just Wilkes just wants them to just do what you do. No, help them.
Yeah.
Don't just sit there and tell them to Bosa just get there. Yeah, okay, run some inside curls and let him try to get a mismatch and get home because he'll get if you give him any type of seam, he's gonna get a sack. He's gonna get and if he gets 2. We win.
Yeah. And if they don't decide to blitz and Patrick Mahomes has all day to throw, that's not good for them.
They're not going to do that. You would be stupid to give the probably the most talented quarterback we've ever seen outside of the guy that used to be at Green Bay. You would be stupid to let him sit in the pocket and dissect your defense. I don't care how bad the receivers are. He's going to put it there. Now, they may drop him. Yeah. He's going to put it there.
Yes. And you know who else I think has a sneaky big place for the Chiefs in this game? Give me Justin Watson, 25-yard catch. Give me Justin Watson. He's a guy that has made a few big plays during his time.
Brandon Cass says Bosa has been horrible in the playoffs. Bosa had 2 sacks against the Lions.
Yeah, he looked pretty damn good against the Lions.
Yeah, I mean, you can certainly argue that he was not up to his standard against the Packers, but against the Lions, yeah, he was good.
Yeah, what is he talking about?
You know what else is good and what's always good is a haircut from Lady Jane's. Make sure you go to Lady Jane's for an award-winning haircut experience and automatically enter to win a trip of your dreams and all expenses paid suite for the 2024 NCAA tournament. That's right, no expenses spared for you and 5 of your best buds. Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men, open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome.
Love Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on Shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Woodward Golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids, all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today. A ton of fun, a ton of sports, and a ton of man meat. Welcome to the Woodward Heavyweights, live daily 5 to 7 p.m. on Woodward Sports.
Come to any Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men for an award-winning haircut experience from one of our talented stylists and register for a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to win an all-expenses-paid suite for the 2024 NCAA tournament for you and 5 of your best buds. That's right, college basketball's most elite event. You and your 5 best friends just get to any Lady Jane's today for an award-winning haircut experience and automatically register to win the trip of your dreams. Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men, open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. Lady Jane's, it's wicked awesome.
Welcome back to Big D Energy. Whoa, my bad. Freudian slip.
Old habits die hard.
Hey, Big D Energy live on the Woodward Sports Network. I am Flannel Sam. The guy to my left is Lindsey Hunter. And to close out the show, we're going to read some questions. We're going to do a little mailbag. And this is actually Brandon Katz's Super Bowl prediction. It's actually decent. KC should win a close game. The only reason the 49ers have a chance is KC will be down 2 key defensive linemen. I'll tell you what, I don't know how key Derek Nottie is, but
it's called football, Cats. People get hurt all the time.
Yes, that is true, and I don't know how much the Chiefs' injuries will hurt them, but not necessarily ideal. But we shall see. What do we got here? We've got nice, perfect way to head into the weekend with easy. Okay, no.
Yeah,
we're not.
That swing easy head in that commercial.
Okay, Robert Colosia. Yeah. I appreciate that for sure.
I got him with the changeup when I threw the punch key at him. He whiffed.
Yeah. Oh, I remember that. Yeah. Those were the good old days.
Good old days for sure.
Oh yeah, the real K Collins 77. Chiefs will be back-to-back champions. That is the kind of energy that I'm looking for. If the Lions can't win it, why not give Mahomes his 3rd Super Bowl MVP so we can inch that closer in the GOAT conversation?
You see how stupid Brandon Katz is? You literally just said he had a good take and you like his score. You go, Sam with a dumb comment.
Yeah, you're right. Probably what I said about Nottie, but
that guy is stupid, man.
Oh, Eduardo O'Neill, mailbag. Will Sam bathe in this San Francisco fans' tears after the Chiefs pull out the massacre? I mean, I'm not into bathing in tears, especially if it's not my favorite team, but I'll certainly be happy. And I'm a gracious winner for the most part. I was there to console Spencer Raxter during the Michigan State watch party.
Yeah.
And you were pretty easy on me when Michigan State returned the favor in basketball season.
I was.
Yeah. Shout out Michigan basketball, by the way, for beating Wisconsin. And that's not sincere at all, by the
sarcasm.
way. Not
Pure
sincere
sarcasm.
at all, by the way. And Neil Rule, of all people, predicted it. How the hell does he do that?
I know. It's crazy.
It's unbelievable.
I was wrong, man.
Damn. But yeah, why couldn't Juwan Howard and Michigan hold the lead against Rutgers, hold the lead against Penn State, hold the lead against Maryland, hold the lead against Long Beach State, win a game against Florida and Oregon? But you know what? I digress. Eduardo O'Neill, I'm with you, Sam. All right, Spencer Raxter is giving me the signal that I should wrap it up for myself.
Wrap that shit up,
Lindsey
B.
Hunter. Thank you so much for
Classic.
tuning in. It was great to be back on Big D Energy. I'm tracing back some roots moving forward, so I'm really excited about that. Thank you, as always, Spencer Raxter. We don't work together as often as we used to, but I enjoy it. I always enjoy it, and I missed it. And KG, you know how I feel about you. You've been a hell of an addition to the network, and I've been working with you a lot and hope to continue to do so.
Thanks, Sam.
For everyone else in the chat, thank you so much. This is Big D Energy. We will see you Monday following the Super Bowl. Peace.
Good Friday.